Oh. Hello and welcome to this Eureka City Council meeting, St. Patrick's Day. Welcome everybody. Glad you're here. I hope you're all wearing green. No, I don't know. We will open this meeting with a land acknowledgement. The land that Eureka rests on is known in the Wiyot language as Jirojiji. Past actions by local, state, and federal governments remove the Wiyot and other indigenous peoples from the land and threaten to destroy their cultural practices. The city of Eureka acknowledged the Wiyot community, their elders both past and present, as well as future generations. This acknowledgement demonstrates the city's commitment to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. And with that, could we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Castellano?
Here.
Councilmember Moulton?
Here.
Councilmember Fernandez is absent. Councilmember Bauer?
Here.
Councilmember Contreras-Deloche?
Here.
And Mayor Burgell?
Here. And would all who care to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. And City Attorney Black, was there a report out of closed session?
Mayor, there were no reportable actions taken in closed session.
Thank you. All right, I have a couple of announcements. Just as the mayor's announcements, I did want to let everybody know that we do have opportunities to be of service on our boards and commissions. The Board of Appeals, we are still looking for 2 people. Design Review 1, Economic Development 2 people, Historic Preservation 2, and the Transportation Safety Commission 1. So if you're interested in that, you can either give me a call or you can call Pam Powell and we will get you the information that you need to apply. Also, on March 24th at 5:30, that's next Tuesday, there'll be a workshop to run for office. So if you're interested in running for office or again, boards and commissions, we'd love to have you. The time is 5:30 and it's right here in council chambers. So again, a workshop on running for office or people that are interested in boards and commissions. We have a lot of opportunities. So pick up an oar. Join us, if you will. And then my last announcement is I just wanted to take a moment to share that we have a public commenter that has been a public commenter for years, and we didn't always agree. In fact, many times we didn't. He was very difficult to in comment at times, but he certainly had a passion for being here, and he definitely stood for and stood up for what he believed in, and that was Harry Wilcox. I don't know, many of you, if you've watched meetings for a long time, will remember him. He did pass at his home in Florida. I was notified last week. He was great one-on-one. We used to take walks and really talk about things. He was very, very well-versed in addiction and moving things in a different direction in that regard. And there were a lot of other things we did not agree on, but that's okay. So Godspeed to you, Harry Wilcox. He really did show up and was a part of this community. So I just wanted to make sure that we gave him that. So.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Siri got it. And with that, we'll do mayor's announcements. The other ones, we have the Rhododendron Parade with Dylan Fierbin from the Old Town Rotary. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Yeah, my name is Dylan Fierbin. I'm here on behalf of Old Town Rotary, and we are getting ready for the 59th annual Rhododendron Parade. That'll be Saturday, April 25th. Our theme this year is America, going with the 250-year anniversary of America. Our slogan is Red, White, and Bloom, to try to tie in both the theme and the Rhododendron Parade as well. We typically, the parade will start on 7th Street. I believe it starts around 10 a.m. It does say on the form. You try to get there early. Usually we try to start around 8:30, lining cars up. And then it'll run around through H Street and ends in Henderson Center. Let's see. We have multiple categories for judging. Mayor, I believe you were a judge last year, and we will ask you to do that as well. We always like to have the mayor be a judge. I think you were also a part of it with the kinetic sculpture, if I recall, group. And so, yeah, hope to see you again. And anyone else from the city, if you'd like to put a float together to be a part of it. Pam informed me that it's 170 years for Eureka. So, some symmetry there. So it wouldn't be a bad thing to put a float and be a part of it. We usually partner with you, and so that's why I'm here today to try to talk about that and hopefully continue that partnership. And let's see, to sign up for the parade, you can go to EurekaRoadieParade.com, and then Roadie is just RHODY. So EurekaRoadieParade.com is where you can sign up. There's a waiver form there. If you have a party of 8, say, on your float or your group, you only need 1 waiver form. You don't need to have 8 individual waiver forms signed. And what else do we need to provide for you? Let's see. Sign up is free as well, so don't feel like anybody has to pay for it. Just anybody come out and have a good time, and hopefully we have good weather. You guys have any questions?
Any questions?
All right,
Doesn't
thank
look
you.
like it. Thank you so much. What
Have a good
fun.
evening.
All right. So tonight we are so lucky. We get to have 3 presentations on 3 really neat things happening for our city. And the first one, it will be with Zoo Director Jim Campbell Spickler for the Sequoia Park Zoo. Come on up. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Council, Mayor. Thank you for having me here today and allowing me this great honor to present to you the state of the zoo, the Sequoia Park Zoo 2026. We have so many things happening at the zoo. There's just been such a great transformation of our zoo over the last 5 years, and I've been very lucky to be in the position of director during that time. So thank you for that honor. And I'd like to start by asking you to celebrate a very special thing with me today. Today is this lady's birthday, or what we call in the zoo world a gotcha day. So Ishang, our North American black bear, came to be part of our family exactly 1 year ago. So we also know, she's 4 years old. We also know that it is about this time of year when black bear cubs are born in the wild. So this could very well be her actual birthday, but this is in the zoo world what we call, we got you on this day. It's the gotcha day. So yay, we're very excited about that. She is we call her the Queen of Humboldt. And if you want to see some really cool social media posts and other neat things, go to hashtag Queen of Humboldt and look at all of her followers and fans and a lot of the social media. It's really fun. So, what? A lot healthier, yes. She's up and active. She just came out of her torpor. She's been asleep. So she's active out there playing in the pond and playing with her toys. So it's a great time at the zoo. All right, moving right along, it makes sense. Oh, Jesus, okay. I see, okay. All right, move right into what's everybody's favorite thing, some animal updates for the zoo. And I want to read from you the AZA's description of what the species survival plan is. And then I want to tell you more about 3 of the species that we have at the zoo and what's going on with them. So the AZA says that their species survival plan program coordinates and manages the cooperative care and breeding of a species in human care to ensure the sustainability of a healthy, genetically diverse, and demographically varied population of animals. So, as a AZA member, which is an exclusive club, we give animal care and conservation issues are the gold standard. So these 3 animals are 3 of our most popular animals at the zoo. Red panda, definitely the crowd favorite. And if you have not met Saffron, our young male red panda, you should come by and meet him. He's amazing. And the AZA let us know recently that our facility has been put under a breeding recommendation. So they have asked us to participate in the species survival plan, which means that very soon a young female panda will be joining us. It's going to be this summer sometime. I know her name, but we're not supposed to tell you. It's Henny. But that could change. Okay, so we're very excited about that. But then also, Chicoan peccaries are another popular animal at the zoo, and we have one of the most successful bachelor breeding herds. In fact, we are doing things at our zoo that no other zoo has been able to do. We've been able to incorporate a large group of males into a single herd, where socially these animals usually stick in pairs of 2 males, and they're related. But we have great success. And the picture on the bottom of the peccary, that's Ichabod. He's a stud, literally a stud. He's out to stud right now, so he is visiting another zoo, and he is part of this species survival plan. He represents his species, and we're hoping for a little peccary. I guess you call them piglets. They're peccarylits, whatever you want to call them. They're not pigs, but we're excited about that. And then spider monkeys, we last year had 2. That turned into 3 as we welcomed back Sprite, who is Candy's daughter from 1995, who had left our facility and now has come back. But we are also joined by 3 more spider monkeys that came to us from Zoo Miami after a hurricane damaged their facility and regulations in that state changed. So we are now part of our family's 6 spider monkeys. It's super fun, and if you haven't been to see the spider monkeys and all their new toys, you should definitely check it out. And then also our most popular non-releasable wildlife, which we do have a lot of non-releasable wildlife that has been placed with our zoo from the agencies. But let me just talk to you about our American black bears. Already mentioned Ishang, and we have Thule. They've been with us for over a couple of years now for Thule. But then our new family member is Kunibalith. We call him Naboo. He is this beautiful cinnamon colored bear, and he's one of the photos down there on there. And he's a little bit spicy still. He's not in the population with the other bears, but he's woken up from his torpor, and we're really just enjoying getting to know him and work with him. So that's great. And then also, if you've been to the zoo recently and you've smelled something, you're like, what's that? That's a porcupine. Yeah, so porcupines have a really peculiar smell, something like a really bad cheese or a good cheese, depending on your taste, and a teenager's feet. If you don't mind that, then you won't mind this smell. But Ozzy, Prince of Sharpness, is part of our family now. He was placed with us. He came from Alaska. Alaska Fish and Wildlife asked us to be his forever home. He was a non-releasable. And then, of course, we've got Mr. Douglas Fir, who is the picture on the far right over there. A young raccoon. He is a feisty little guy who likes to chew on socks and try to climb your leg for the grapes and whatever he likes to eat. But we're welcoming him into our family. It's really fun to be at the zoo and see the zookeepers doing their job and loving on these animals. So that's great. Continuing on, maybe, possibly. All right, straight to our support organization. So as an AZA accredited facility, conservation is the name of the game. That's the gold standard. But I want to talk to you about how we do our conservation programs and how we support. I missed a slide, actually. No, that's okay. Yeah, so recently, in the past year and a half, we have reimagined what our fundraising and our philanthropic effort at the zoo would look like. And we've partnered with the Humboldt Area Foundation and another support organization that we call the Zoo Advisory Group to help us with some of the fundraising that's necessary for us to create these, help build these new habitats to support that effort and to support our conservation efforts. So the Humboldt Area Foundation serves as our comprehensive fiscal partner, and that's a fancy way of saying that they attend to the business of a 501c3 nonprofit. So when people would like to support our zoo and they would like to make a donation, they can make those donations directly to the Humboldt Area Foundation to very specific funds like what we're showing here, the Animal Care Center funds, Sequoia Park Zoo Fund, and all these funds that go to support certain mission elements of our zoo. The Zoo Advisory Group is there to help develop fundraising opportunities and help deal with our donors and to help with that mission, and also to advise on spending, so in support of the zoo. So there are 7 of us in the advisory group. We talk about fundraising, we execute on fundraising, we talk and interact with our donors, and then in working with the Humboldt Area Foundation, we have found an incredibly efficient way to fundraise for the zoo and support our mission. So it's just been a fun year and a half to figure out this new thing. And I got to tell you, I think what we're doing is unique in the zoo world, but we're turning heads. I've had several zoo directors asking me about this type of organization. So it's really going well. We have transparency. We can get near real-time numbers on donations and accounting for these funds. And the nice thing is 100% or more of donations go to their intended purpose. Because Humboldt Area Foundation manages money for us, there is return on that money that offsets fees. So it's just been a great way for the zoo to operate. And this capacity has allowed us to do a lot of great things. I don't know what happened. Okay, again, conservation is such an important part of our mission at the zoo. And in 2015, Council, you trusted us with a quarter for conservation. In 23, you gave us an extra quarter, and that's great. We're putting that money to good use. Part of the things that we support are saving animals from extinction, our western pond turtle, which is an animal that we have. So we're not only giving grants out to people, but we're also directly supporting amazing programs like the Northern California Restoration Program, which is, and I'm sure you've heard, there's 2 condors who are nesting now, and we may have a new young condor flying over our area, so that's great. Bat Conservation International. So we're deeply, deeply appreciative to the city of Eureka for helping us achieve this very important part of our AZA mission as a conservation-based organization. This is how we fund that research. And we have a lot of things coming up that we have planned. We have a new grain house that we're going to put in. There's trail restoration work we want to do. And then we want to work with other council members to make sure that we're ready for the integration when the Beta Zoo Trail finally arrives. We're very excited about that. Projects we've completed. So fundraising helps us do projects. We just completed the upgrades to our red panda habitat, and Saffron's out there. We're so excited about that. Community members helped us with that, and then also a very generous grant from the Christine and Yalmerberg Foundation. Other fundraising that we're currently doing is our year-end campaign. We've generated through the generous support of our community, nearly $30,000 to help us purchase really useful diagnostic equipment for our ACC, our Animal Care Hospital, which will help us provide the best care to our animals. We also have another thing that we're working on, a shovel-ready project right now. It is the Wonders of Wildlife Observation Station, which will help us exhibit or help us interact with our people when we have our ambassador animals out, because right now crowds are so high, it's tough. We need that little bit of a holdback. But this is also going to allow us to live stream a lot of cool cameras from our local wild habitats, but also at the zoo. So when we have maybe that red panda baby cub, we might be able to peek in live cameras, so that will all be streaming. So we're just up in the game a little bit. So we're excited about that. And then, of course, the Peccary Plaza, which is a shovel-ready project that we're going to start raising funds for. It is a component to what we want to think of as the Skywalk. It's going to help us with events. There's a lot of demand for Skywalk and events. So we're really looking forward to getting the Peccary Plaza, which is actually a viewing deck that will look out over the Peccary habitat and allow us to do more interpretive work there. So excited about all that, ready to get with the advisory group and start fundraising. And so many cool events happening at the zoo. I'm not going to read them all off, but if you want to come and check it out, we've got a lot of neat things happening. There's 3 conservation related things, there's 3 community events, and then we've got 3 fundraisers. So the 21 and over events are for our fundraising, the other things are for our other mission related projects. So we're very happy about that. And I just wanted to, again, thank you for this time, giving this quick update. I'll leave you with a couple. I left you with your handout, but I just want to say before I go that visitor numbers at the zoo have never been better. They continue to rise. We are on track for another record year. Last year we had over almost 175,000 people join us. So the zoo is doing great. We have over 3,000 members. This is an amazing part of our city, and thank you for the honor of letting me be the director. This is amazing. Thank you.
Before we have questions, I just was curious if you wanted to announce what's happening tomorrow night. Isn't tomorrow night the conservation lecture
Oh, yes.
with the Redwoods Rising, a
yes.
collaboration?
Lathrop is coming to let us know what's going on, with the Redwoods Rising initiative that's happening with Save the Redwoods Lake. I'm excited about this. I know Lathrop. I've worked with that crew before, so it's going to be great to have Lathrop.
And it's from 7 to 8?
It is starts at 7 to 8. You're correct. Yeah.
And can people watch it on Zoom?
Yes. And if you go onto our website or onto our social media, you will be able to find a link that'll get you in.
Great.
Yeah, Lathrop's great. It's going to be a great presentation about the work that Save the Redwoods Lake and Redwoods Rising is doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Moulton?
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation and for all the work that you do. I really love our zoo. I tell people, I meet a lot of tourists and I tell them all to go check out the Skywalk. It's genuinely world class. I just wanted to say a fond farewell to Grover the goat. One of my son's favorites, because he was so affectionate. You're not affectionate, but he really wanted a lot of attention. He couldn't get into that petting zoo without meeting him. That's all. Bye, Grover.
Grover, we miss him so much. He's been such a big part of the zoo for the last 9.5 years, but he lived a long, good goat life, beyond life expectancy, and it was hard to say goodbye, but he was there with the zookeepers and the people who loved him the very most. So it was a touching moment, but that's one of the hardest parts of being a zoo director or a zookeeper, is sometimes you have to say those sad goodbyes. Yeah.
Saying goodbye. Any caretaker, I think, is going to know that. And I think it's balanced by, or those kinds of sad moments are definitely balanced then by the idea that those condors out there are pregonish, are, laying eggs. Like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So we've lost one, but we might gain more.
Yeah, very excited about the work that's going on with Condor right now. What an exciting time. Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yep. Councilmember Contreras Deloach.
Well, first I was just going to say thank you for a great presentation. It's very exciting to see all the stuff that's happening at the zoo, and I appreciate all the innovation and creativity too, and the idea of having, I love watching like eagle cams and stuff like that, so I would love it if we had something like that too. I got in a little bit of a hurry and forgot to mention that we do have a streaming camera that is part of our Wonders of Wildlife program. And if you go to @Redwood Zoo, which is our YouTube channel, you can see it. It is the Fay Slough Bald Eagle Nest Cam. Unfortunately, the eagles are still deciding whether they would like to nest this year at this site, but if not, that's okay. There's a nest we know. If it's not this nest, it's going to be somewhere close, and we will replace the camera. We'll switch the camera up to the new spot next year. But yeah, we're going to have a streaming eagle cam. We did last year. They were there, but then they decided not to nest. So there's eagles are fickle. They pair up. Sometimes they separate, but we hope to have them back. I was going to ask about the red pandas. Do we know approximately when we might? I don't recall what you said when we might have a additional panda.
We expect the additional panda to come to us summer, maybe earlier. It's still yet to be determined.
Cool.
But when will we have panda babies, red panda babies? That's unknown.
That's the camera
he's
I
young.
want.
Yeah, so I would say it would probably be at least a year and a half, and most likely a bit longer. That would actually be a really good question for me to ask staff, because I don't know, to be honest, and they would probably have better insight, but not before like a year and a half. I would say that would be the soonest.
One last thought. Thank you. I appreciate the social media activity on the zoo's page. It's been fun to follow Yisheng, and it means something like she likes to eat, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, I thought that was great because she was just the biggest ball I've ever seen of bear. One of the things that they did though when Grover passed away was they asked everybody to share photos, and I went through because we've been there so much with our little boy. I thought, I guarantee I've got to have a photo. I didn't have any direct photos, but what I realized is that in the background of almost every photo, he was somewhere in the background, and I thought, yes, that is perfect.
Photo bomber.
Yeah, exactly. That's Grover the goat. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, one little thing about Yisheng. So when she came to us a year ago, she was 500 pounds, which is way too heavy for her frame. She's down to around 320 now. So what the zookeepers like to call physical parathy. Yeah. She's had her therapy, and it's really working for her, and she is just such a treasure for us. She is fun. Yeah.
Councilmember Bauer?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to thank you for your leadership at the zoo. I mean, it's amazing what you've done and what the staff have done. And yeah, I you always say you got to come, and when my kids were small, we were there like once a week, always there, check out the monkeys, and now life gets too busy. But I spend a lot of time when I'm visiting other council members across the state demanding they come do the skywalk. I'm like, absolutely. Come to Eureka, you better stop and let's go to do the skywalk, because it's such an incredible thing for people to do. So thank you. Keep up the good work. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for those words. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I will say my final words. I grew up in the zoo. Many people that grew up here grew up in the zoo. Not in the zoo, but going to the zoo. Pardon me. And I just so appreciate all the changes that have been made over the years. And currently just the amount of conservation and things like that are happening, and the education for our kids to be able to, like the watershed heroes, and to be able to see the eagles, and to be able to see local animals, and in an environment where they can actually interact with them is just a beautiful thing. And the last thing I'll say is please give Frankie a virtual hug from me.
I
Frankie's
will do
the
that.
pig. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. And next up, our next report is going to be Humboldt Bay Fire's JPA Annual Report with Chief Citro. Welcome, Chief.
Good evening, Council Mayor. Thank you for having me tonight. So tonight I'm going to just give an annual report, our year in review at Humboldt Bay Fire, talk about some incident statistics, some of our highlights, and some of the progress that we've made. So to start, we'll start with our calls for service. This year we had a total of 7,305 calls for service. About 3.2% of those constituted fires, and a majority, as always, about 62.6% this year were rescue and EMS calls. And as you can see by the other categories, hazmat, service call, good intent calls, false alarms, and special incidents. I'll give you a breakdown of what those represent next. So we use what's called the National Fire Incident Reporting System classification for codes for the national database. We have to submit all of our incident report data to national database on a quarterly basis, and this is how they kind of break them out. So fires include all structure fires, vehicle fires, vegetation fires, dumpster and trash fires, and other types of outside fires. Rescue and EMS is very specific to extrications. Water rescue calls, technical rescue calls, which involve confined space, over the bank, rope rescue, anything that involves some technical specialty for rescue. Our emergency medical calls, and also vehicle collisions. Our hazardous conditions, those constitute things such as power lines down, hazardous materials incidents, weather-related incidents, whether that be trees down, flooding, anything that the weather can bring here in the winter. Service calls, mostly public service assistance calls, and those deal with things like lift assists, assisting the public with other types of assistance that they need. Assisting other agencies. Sometimes we get called to assist law enforcement, or sometimes the ambulance or other agencies will call us for assistance. Going on burn complaints, lockouts, and also cover assignments where we'll go cover our neighboring agencies and jurisdictions. Good intent calls, calls where we're cancel en route. That actually happens quite frequently. It's either the wrong location or there's just no incident found at the location that was reported. And also sometimes things just aren't as reported, and we categorize those as good intent calls. And then our false alarms, which include fire alarms, smoke detector, and carbon monoxide activations where there's no emergency, and sprinkler flow alarms and other types of false alarms that we go on. So breaking down the fire calls that make up about 3.2% of our annual incidents. This year in 2025, we categorized 86 structure fires. Not all of those are actual working structure fires. A lot of those are cooking fires or other types of fires that are inside of a structure that require a full response from us. And we had 23 vehicle fires, 72 vegetation fires, 41 trash fires, and then 106 outside fires. And the outside fires can mean anything from somebody burning illegally to sometimes we just get fires of items burning on a sidewalk or something like that. Just really hard to categorize. As far as our rescue and EMS calls go, those account for almost 63% of our calls, which is actually a little bit below the national average for most departments our size. Other agencies, those usually represent 75 to 80% of their incidents. We had 46 motor vehicle accidents with injuries within our jurisdiction this year. We had 82 that did not have any injuries, but we were called because they were presumed to be injured. We had 9 motor vehicle versus pedestrian calls this last year. We had 3 water rescue calls, and we had 8 extrication calls this year, which means we actually had to physically use the jaws of life on vehicle accidents to get the injured out of the vehicle. As far as our EMS medical calls go, a medical assist or assisted EMS crew, that represents when the ambulance is either there before us or arrives with us, and that happens 648 times. And for our other EMS calls, we were there first 3,778 times. So we beat the ambulance, or we get to the scene usually before the ambulance does almost. I can't do the math in my head, but it's quite a bit. So as far as our station response numbers go, Station 1, our downtown station, is obviously the busiest, just under 2,000 calls in 2025. Station 3 is our second busiest station at 1,500. Station 4 is our third busiest at little over 1,400. Station 5 out by Redwood Acres, about 1,350 calls. And then Station 2 out in Herrick, just over 1,000 calls. So that totals 7,305 calls. And in 2025, our average emergency response time was 5 minutes, 46 seconds. That takes in an average of all the stations combined for emergency responses only, which is code 3, which is lights and sirens. And the National Fire Protection Association standard for the fire service is less than 6 minutes. So we are meeting that right now. Last year in 2024, we were over that number by about 20 seconds. And I think that's attributed to the fact that we have had very few station closures in 2025. So when a station is closed, it affects our response times. I'm going to go over some responses by zone. This is more jurisdiction. As you know, the JPA is, formed through the city of Eureka and the Humboldt Fire District. So within the Eureka city limits themselves, we responded to 5,174 total incidents, and in Humboldt Fire District, 2,064. The other small part that makes up our responsibility is the College of the Redwoods. We have a contract to provide fire service to College of the Redwoods, and we responded out there 19 times this year. And the other jurisdictions respond the times that we responded to them mutual aid. Obviously, Arcata is the most at 33. We went out to Blue Lake a few times, went down to Fortuna a few times, went up the hill to Nealon once, went down to Lolita once, went over to the peninsula to assist them 6 times, and then out of jurisdiction, that represents our 2 strike teams that we went on this year. One to the Palisades Fire down in Los Angeles in January, and the Dillon Fire up by Happy Camp this summer. So looking at our response numbers historically this year, we're at 7,305. It's down about 250 calls from last year. But if you take an average since 2019, which is a 7-year history, we average about 7,313. So we're right about at our average. You see the spike or the decrease there in 2020. That was due to COVID. Just less people called 911 during COVID. Everybody was inside and didn't want to get out. And then as you see, after COVID ended, our calls significantly went up and then leveled off. Talk about a little bit about our staffing updates. As you know, we've had some pretty significant staffing shortages in the last 4 years. I'm happy to report that those are starting now to improve. In 2025, we only had 1 firefighter voluntarily resign. Back in 2022, I think we had, 8 positions resign, and in 2023, we had 7. So that's a good number to see that we're getting less resignations and turnover. We promoted 2 engineers. It's the first internal engineer test we've had in 3 years where we actually did our traditional internal engineer staffing and had internal candidates qualified to take the test, and they both successfully passed. And I'm happy to report that we're having another one on Thursday and Friday of this week for 2 more candidates. We promoted 1 captain last year. We've had multiple personnel complete their apparatus operator and company officer training. That allows them they are firefighters or engineers who can bump up to the next rank and act in that position, which helps us save with staffing and overtime. We hired 4 new firefighters last year and a new fire inspector. And again, our training group, which consists of our training battalion chief and the training captains, 1 on each platoon, continue to prioritize personnel development in our training programs to continue to develop our people so they can fill these roles. We've put a lot of time into personnel development, and we're starting to see the results from that. The other exciting thing in regards to staffing for the future, as you know, College of the Redwoods, the Firefighter Academy achieved California State accreditation as a Firefighter 1 Academy in November. And of course, we continue to support that Fire Academy through the use of our training site. Some of our firefighters help instruct the academy, and also the JPA board graciously donated an engine to them 2 years ago that they still use. So let's talk a little bit about our new members that we hired. The 4 new firefighters, Aiden Aldor, Justin Anderson, and Mike Martin, were hired in April of last year. They're about ready to complete their 1-year probation and will be successful. And the last firefighter we hired, he started right at the end of the year, Dylan Clevenger. And I'd like to point out that he is the first cadet from our program that we hired that went through the full training as a cadet to achieve his Firefighter 1 in EMT. He's the first one, and we're hoping to see a lot more from our cadet program. And then also Fire Inspector Hannah Callias, she started in July, and from July to December, she completed 390 of our mandated inspections that are required to be done. So she's been catching up on a lot of the inspections that we needed to get done. She's been doing a great job. And the one resignation we had, firefighter Jared, he resigned for family reasons. He had to resign, so that's the only one. Let's talk a little bit about some of the new accomplishments that some of our employees have done. We have 3 new paramedics last year. Dolan Dillon, Tyler D. Michelli, and Bruin Hinton all finished the 1.5-year paramedic program through College of the Redwoods and are now licensed paramedics working for Humboldt Bay Fire. And we have a new company officer, engineer Brett Egbert. Two new engineers we promoted last year, Dolan Dillon and Ben Wilma. And our new apparatus operators are Rebecca Suzuki and Jerry Spaeth, and they're taking the engineers test at the end of this week. We promoted one new captain in Tyler DiMichelli. We have now two new fire investigators who completed all their training, Captain Trevor Morris and Engineer Dolan Dillon. We have two new bilingual employees, Elijah Wagner in Spanish, which he spoke Spanish all along and didn't say anything. And I was like, come on, man, do it. So he did. And Captain Brett Banducci, who is fluent in American Sign Language, which is a great resource for our customers. We added two new members to our urban search and rescue team, Engineer Wyatt Sola and Engineer Anthony Zamudio, and three new members to our water rescue team, Engineer Scott Gordon-Air, Firefighter Max Michael, and Firefighter Elijah Wagner. All these specialties and services that we provide, we needed to fill these positions, and all these employees stepped up into these roles to take those over. It's been really great to see. We had our awards dinner in March and recognized our 2025 awards. Engineer Dolan Dillon received the Firefighter of the Year, and from the previous page you can see why. He was listed in almost everything he stepped up to do, so it was great. Our Citizen Award went to Linda Nellist. She is wonderful. She runs the entire CERT coalition for Humboldt County, and for Humboldt Bay Fire she runs our CERT team also. She's wonderful. And her husband was a captain for the Humboldt Fire District years ago, was there when I started working there, and she also helps support our firefighters with mental health and suicide prevention. She's wonderful to have. A service award went to firefighter Yola Montomlin for his work in establishing our peer support program and moving that forward and keeping it going. It's a wonderful program that a lot of our employees take advantage of. And we did the Medal of Valor Award to Captain Brooks Connor, Captain Chris Mitchell, Engineer Adam Bumgardner, Engineer Ben Wilma, and Firefighter Yola Montomlin for their work on the Silvercrest fire back in April, where we had a fire on the 5th floor of Silvercrest early in the morning, and they were able to quickly extinguish the fire and rescue the victim on the 5th floor fairly rapidly. And just as a reminder, the council, I think it went out, but we'll be having a badge pinning ceremony on March 27th, and these Medal of Valor recipients will also be recognized formally there. Our cadet program is full. We continue to get applications, but it's full right now. We have a total of 9, and hopefully these future cadets will complete their training and be able to participate in the Firefighter One Academy and the EMT Classic College of Redwoods with the support of Humboldt Bay Fire, and be eligible to be hired in our future career recruitments. Not all of them will make it. We're being very selective and putting them through the training in the program. But the ones that do will have an excellent chance of working for us, which is what we want to see. Just some of the things that we do out in the community. One of my big priorities when I took over as fire chief was I wanted to make our Humboldt Bay Fire a lot more accessible and visible to the community. Not that we weren't, but I wanted to emphasize it. And we're seeing a lot of that. We go to schools. We take advantage of community events. There's a picture of the Bucket Brigade at Zane Middle School where the mayor got in a water fight with one of the firefighters. We do a lot of station tours for the public in the schools. One of the interesting things we did last year is the Eureka High School physical fitness class, PE class, does this thing, does a specific workout representing a Navy SEAL. It was his favorite workout. And we were invited to participate in that, and we had about 3 engine companies show up and do the entire workout with the high school students as they were doing it too, to kind of motivate them. It was really great. A lot of summer programs we participate in. In the spring, we do a presentation for every second grade class in our jurisdiction, where we go out to the school and do a second grade program. Again, we help at College of the Redwoods. There's our crew at the Perilous Plunge, just in case we need to be there. And of course, we do the every 15 minutes program, but we've done a lot of other things. When Highland Park, Dias Park opened, we were there. We try to participate in everything we can, get out and play day. We try and be out and visible to the public as much as we can, and I think we're seeing it. It's been really great. A couple of the other things that we do in conjunction with our firefighters union. We do the Thanksgiving boxes for the Salvation Army, where our on-duty firefighters and off-duty and their families come and put together all the food boxes for the Salvation Army for the Thanksgiving food boxes. They had so much help this year from us, it only took an hour. It was really great. And then, of course, our firefighters union every year does their annual toy drive, which is a huge success. Let's talk a little bit about our training hours. We had a total of 9,255 training hours this year. That's about what it was last year with all the personnel development and training we've been doing. Those numbers are pretty high. It amounts to about 16 hours per employee per month. And our goal is 10. So we're over our goal right now of training hours of 10 hours per employee. We're averaging about 16 hours last year. And it involves everything: firefighting, EMS, water, urban search and rescue, everything that we do, we train on all the time. Let's talk about some of the projects that were completed. Obviously, Station 3 last year, I reported that it was happening, and I had pictures of it all framed and under construction. Well, it's done, and the pictures on the right show it completed on the inside. It turned out wonderfully, and again, I'd like to thank the council for taking the time to remodel that station. It was built in the early 50s, and it needed a remodel, and it's a wonderful facility now for our crews to work out of. And then out at Station 2, which is owned by the Humboldt Fire District, we did a remodel out there where we added a second bathroom and remodeled the existing bathroom. And also we have a garage space out back where we added a facility for all of our laundering, including our turnouts, where we can wash our firefighting gear and dry it on site. We don't have to drive it around anymore. And I'm happy to report that all 5 of our fire stations now have the proper laundering facilities for our safety gear. It's really a good thing to have. And I think it also shows the commitment that per the JPA agreement, the parent agencies are still responsible for their capital assets, including their stations. And it shows that each parent agency is keeping up on their stations and continuing to maintain them. So it's a really good thing to see. Does anybody have any questions? That's all I have.
Are there any questions? Councilmember Castellano.
Well, firstly, thank you for your work and for your commitment to the community and community-based firefighting.
Yes.
I'm curious, in terms of numbers of fires, kind of how are we looking at trends over time? And I was just also, in relation, curious if, as housing stock improves or people make improvements to their houses, are we seeing fewer structure fires or fewer catastrophic structure fires?
Yeah, that's a great question. I will say this, that newer buildings that are built to the modern fire and building codes. So they're sprinklered, they're alarmed, they have standpipes, they have fire ratings, so they're built to modern standards. So if we do have a fire in those newer type buildings, you're going to see less damage. We still may have a fire in there, but it will not be as catastrophic. In some of our older buildings in town that are unprotected, not sprinklered, such as buildings in Old Town, or for example, the fire we had at 833 H Street, that's where we're going to see those more catastrophic fires. Some of our older Victorians, just based on the type of construction they are. But the fact that we have a fully staffed and capable fire department and we're able to get on them quickly. Unless it has a really big head start on us, I feel confident that we can catch most of them, unless there's something unknown that we don't know about. The Victorians are really tough with their balloon frame construction because the fire can run in the walls on us. And getting there quick and getting on it fast is very important. So,
thank you. Yeah, I could imagine it would be interesting to kind of see a comparison of the types of structures over time that are having more fires or less.
Yeah.
And if there's anything to learn from that. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Councilmember Moulton.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you, Chief, for that thorough report.
Welcome.
Always love to see the work that is happening. And especially when it comes to the training hours. I know I've said it many times, but I'm very impressed with how our firefighters spend all the time they're not helping people learning to be more effective at their jobs. So that's always really good to see. And I know you have a very data-driven approach to the sort of policies or education that you might pursue. Is there any trends similar to Councilmember Castellano's question? Are there any public safety trends that you would highlight? Because I know you talk about more than fires.
Sure.
Are there any injuries that are or incidents that are coming floating to the top of your perception?
It's it's hard because when we talk about the type of incidents we go on, if we have, for example, a fatality that's a vehicle versus pedestrian, right? 9 may not look like a lot, but boy, those
It's
stick
like-
with you.
Far too many.
Far too many as far as I'm concerned. And when the incidents happen, that's when you realize. So, those types of things, our vehicle collisions, as far as injuries go, I'm seeing less severe injuries from our vehicle collisions. And I think that's due to a couple things. I think it's, the work done by our law enforcement partners. I think it's, the traffic controls that are there and in place. When I first started working years ago, we still had uncontrolled intersections in the city of Eureka without stop signs and things like that. So we're seeing that. And also, I think just the safety features of the vehicles are improving a lot. That's another thing I've noticed. But those always kind of stand out to me. When we do have a critical incident, it's not so much the numbers, it's just the incident itself that really makes you stop and think, what can we do? I will report that as far as our outside fires go, about 130 of those were fires in the Greenbelt that were campfires, cooking fires, trash fires, things like that. Those do concern me a little bit. Fortunately, our wildfire danger here in Eureka isn't that great due to our climate and our fire history. But it can create problems if we get the right day and the right weather and things like that. It could become a problem. But so far, we've been able to get on most of them fairly quickly. In the community, too, here, I'm going to say in California or just in the West in general, is a lot more sensitive to fires with everything we've been having. So we're getting a lot more reports when somebody sees smoke, they're calling right away. They're not waiting or thinking somebody else is going to call. We're getting a lot of those calls, which is great. And we'll go out and investigate. And if it's something we need to handle, we will. So we're seeing a lot more of that.
Thank you. I just want to highlight something you just mentioned, that is the number of people being injured or the severity of injuries in vehicle collisions and pedestrian versus vehicle. And you attribute that to enforcement. And I just wanted to point out that enforcement, which then slows the traffic down.
Yes, that's the point.
Because slower cars cause less damage.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's huge. Yes. That's what I meant.
Councilmember Contreras Deloach.
Hi, Chief. Thank you. I had a question. I know you, I don't remember what the number was, but it was a pretty significant difference between of how frequently HBF is making it on scene prior to ambulances. And you know what your average response time is. I was curious if you know kind of what the difference is on average between how long between you when you guys are arriving and they're arriving.
That's a great question. And the last time response study we did for that was years ago when we added paramedics to our engine companies. And back then, I think it was around a 3-minute average that we were there first. And there were some outliers, and it happens. And we have an excellent working relationship with the ambulance company here. We work in tandem. We're training together now. It's a wonderful relationship. And it's not that they're not getting there. It's just they are so busy. They are so busy doing other, you have to remember the ambulance is also responsible for all the non-emergency calls that they get, the interfacility transfers, all those types of things. So they're busy, just like we are. So it's not a reflection on them at all. I think it's just the system that we're in and the way it's set up. And it's very common in other areas too. Ambulances are a much more scarce resource. They just are. And the fact that we're there to help when we need to be is what's important. And yeah, it's there. We may run 7,000 calls a year here in our jurisdiction, but I'm sure they're running 10, 15,000 with everything else they have to do that's just non-emergency.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It was something I had noticed when I had been
Yeah.
on ride-alongs,
Mhm.
and then most recently when my son went out
Yeah.
with you guys, it was something I just kind of peripherally noticed.
Yeah.
We were getting there quite, sometimes with a good gap.
Yeah.
And I know, like you say, they have a high call volume and,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. But I appreciate the information. It just highlights how critically necessary you
Yes.
guys are.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Bauer?
Yeah, Chief, thank you for the presentation. And it's great to see the department fully staffed, people taking leadership roles. That speaks a lot to how you're doing and how the agency's doing. So thank you.
Yeah.
I did have a question about, I noticed, good intent and false alarms are almost 20% of our calls.
They are.
And I mean, we all appreciate people see smoke, they smell smoke and they make a call, but what can we do to prevent you guys from having to gear up and go,
So the first thing is through our dispatch center, we have a communications manual in place with our dispatchers at the police department, and they screen calls and go through a checklist to make sure. And if it's something that the reporting party feels is any type of hazard or concern, that's going to trigger us. They're very good about screening some out. If we didn't have those screening protocols, I guarantee you those numbers would be a lot higher. But we don't mind. And, I think it's a good thing for the community to know that if there's a concern that we're going to be there to address it, even if it turns out not to be anything, that's great. I'd rather it be that than something serious. So, yeah. And the false alarms, they happen. Anytime you have alarm systems or things, they're going to malfunction and do things. And you got to remember too, a lot of those false alarms just aren't businesses. There are people in homes whose fire alarm is beeping at 3 a.m. and they can't figure out why, or they're not sure, and they just call us and we go out and we take care of it. And if it's a battery that needs to be replaced, we'll replace it. And unfortunately, in some houses, they put them in the very highest point where the homeowner can't get to them. So that's when we come out and do it for them. So, that's all positive. And the other thing too is I think that's a reflection that our community education is working, and we're telling people, call us if you need us. That's the point. Don't not do that. Don't wait for it to try to turn out to be something. And we push that a lot is, call us early, because if the sooner we can get there, the less of a problem it's going to be. And that's the way I look at it. So sure. I'm willing to deal with the false alarm calls and those types of things if it helps prevent one bad thing from happening that could have been prevented by us responding. So
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just have one question. So you mentioned when you had the list of all the stations up, Station 4 was number 2 as far as...
Station 3 was our second busiest.
And Station 4 was...
Station 4 was only behind by about 50 calls.
Is that due to the proximity, to Silvercrest and all of that area?
It could be. Every station has places that they go to a lot, has facilities that demand a high call volume. That's not unusual. But I just think it means that our service is fairly regularly spread out and needed all throughout our community. And the fact that we have 5 total stations for the greater Eureka area, I think it shows, and the response time shows that that's what we need to have to adequately serve the community and their service demand on us and the needs that are there. So, but yeah, there are certain places, we do get a high volume of calls at Silvercrest. Station 5, for example, gets a high volume of calls out there for medical because there's a lot of assisted living facilities and senior convalescent hospitals and things like that. So you'll see that. For example, Station 2, which has a majority of the highway all the way from College or the Redwoods into town, they see a lot more traffic incidents than other stations do because they have, a 4-lane freeway in their first 2. So it's just kind of how the geography works, I guess, is what I'd say.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to really appreciate how much I see you all out in the community doing different events and those kinds of things. And Councilmember Bauer and I will see your team at the Perilous Plunge
Yes.
this coming Saturday. So that will be a good time.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your leadership. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. This is some great reports. And next we will have Chief Stevens with the Eureka Police Department with your annual report. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before we get started with our actual report, we're going to appreciate the opportunity. We're going to take a minute to recognize a few of our officers who played a vital role from the patrol standpoint in making sure that these stats that you're going to see, that our mission was carried out this year. Commander LaFrance wrote commanding officer citations for them. 4 of them are here tonight, so we're going to recognize them real quick and get them back either home or back out on the street for the DUI checkpoint and other things they're doing tonight. So, if we may. All right. Officer Gardner. Officer Travis Gardner demonstrated exceptional dedication throughout 2025, leading the department with a total of 2,120 incidents handled. He ranked first in officer-initiated activity with 1,241 activities and surpassed his peers in traffic stops, completing an impressive 1,020 stops, 466 more than the next highest officer. Officer Gardner's proactive approach to policing clearly reflects his commitment to community safety, engagement, and crime prevention. Beyond traffic enforcement, he contributed significantly with 206 case investigations, 138 arrests, 92 citations, showcasing a comprehensive and effective approach to policing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
FTO Cole. FTO Jack Cole distinguished himself as the department's leader in DUI arrests with 33 in 2025. Understanding the grave consequences of impaired driving, given the approximately 12,500 annual deaths in the United States due to alcohol-related collisions, FTO Cole's efforts have been critical in protecting lives on the road. His focused enforcement against intoxicated drivers underscores his commitment to public safety and prevention of tragic incidents, making him a vital asset in reducing risk associated with impaired driving. Congratulations. Officer White. Officer Krisha White demonstrated exceptional performance through a well-balanced and comprehensive approach to her duties. She handled 1,992 incidents, ranking second across the department, and recorded the second highest number of non-arrest cases with 226. Her workload included 1,066 calls for service and 926 officer-initiated activities, reflecting both strong responsiveness and proactive policing. Additionally, Officer White made 185 arrests, also the second highest in the department, demonstrating her commitment to holding offenders accountable. Her consistent excellence across multiple performance metrics highlights her dedication to effective, thorough, and professional policing. Congratulations. FTO Sheldon. FTO Mark Sheldon demonstrated exceptional efficiency and quality throughout 2025. He completed 289 reports, 168 non-arrest cases, and 121 arrests, while maintaining an impressively low report kickback rate of just 10%. Just so you know, the department average is somewhere between probably 25 and 35, and there were many months where his rate was 0, and that's impressive with all the requirements with reporting, which was the best in the department. This accomplishment reflects his meticulous attention to detail and unwavering commitment to producing accurate, high-quality investigative work. In addition to his regular duties, FTO Sheldon served as a field training officer, mentoring and training recruits over a 9-month period. His ability to balance a demanding workload with consistent performance, along with his dedication to developing the next generation of officers, underscores his reliability and excellence in all aspects of his role. Congratulations, Mark. And finally, Officer Ben Alta couldn't be here tonight, but I'd still like to recognize him for how he distinguished himself in 2025 by leading the department in both non-arrest cases taken and total arrest with 243 and 191 respectively. His strong investigative abilities were evident in the volume and quality of cases he managed, reflecting meticulous attention to detail and effective case resolution. Officer Altick's dedication to community safety was further demonstrated by his commitment to holding individuals accountable for criminal behavior as he led the department in arrest. His balanced approach to enforcement and investigation exemplifies professionalism, a strong sense of responsibility, and a commitment to quality policing.
Yes.
Sure.
And the France. Yes. No. Should I? We should all go. Thank you. She's getting the lighting.
All right, good evening again, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight, I will do 3 presentations that's same as I did last year. I'll touch on the military equipment report for the annual report. I will also touch on the surveillance cameras and that mandated report to council, and then I'll get into the good stuff, which is our annual report for the police department. As you know, for the military equipment report, California Assembly Bill 481 was signed by the governor in 2021, which governs what kind of equipment we can have and how we have to report the usage of that equipment. And it's already been put into a bill within the city and also related policies within the department that were implemented in early 2025. And this report is required under the ordinance of policy. This is the equipment we have covered by the policy. The first is 5.56 semi-automatic rifles and ammunition. Currently, we have 43 rifles in our EPT inventory. They have an approximate lifespan of 15 years, and they're used for exceptional circumstances to give the officers the ability to deal with armed encounters from a distance. We paid approximately $2,000 in range fees, conducted training, another $2,259 in ammunition. This varies each year just depending on how many people we have to train and what type of training we do. These are standard issue weapons for law enforcement. They're not necessarily military equipment, but since they fall under that code, we report out on them. The only munitions we have that contain any kind of irritant, such as OC, is our pepper ball launchers. We have 7 of those in our inventory. They have an approximate 5-year lifespan. In 2025, we had a 1 deployment on October 22nd, 2025, which was reported to council per the policy and is also available for everyone on EPD's transparency portal. The cost for conducting training with pepper ball launchers is really minimal. It's only the equipment itself, training rounds, because we do it in conjunction with other training and weapon systems. We didn't buy any new munitions in 2025, and there were no upgrades in 2025. We also carry in our vehicles less lethal shotgun, beanbag munitions. We currently have 14 of those in our inventory, approximately 15-year lifespan. There were no actual usage of those weapons in the 2025. We spend 0 on training because it's in conjunction with other weapon platforms that we already have when we do our annual qualifications. We didn't buy any new munitions in 2025. We will need to for 2026 just because the new employees coming on, the amount of training we're doing. We take part in the regional SWAT team with the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office. We have 3 operators and a tactical dispatcher assigned to that team. They operate under an MOU between the SO and EPD in the city of Eureka. The equipment used by the SWAT team is covered by the the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office military ordinance policy. During 2025, we requested assistance from the team and their special equipment operators for one exigent circumstance within the city. That also was reported to council within the policy recommendation and is on our transparency portal, as well as one specific drone request, and that also was reported within the 30-day period. Any questions on the military equipment? I know it's kind of quick, but
Any questions?
nothing's really changed. Okay.
Doesn't look like it.
It will come back, I think. Oh, it's end of slideshow. So there we go. He's getting the separate one. So he's got it. Okay. Yes.
Yes, please.
Sorry. He was waiting for questions.
Okay, 2025 security camera report. All right, this is a picture we used last year. It was relevant this year because we still have a lock cop up in Dias Park after it's opened. So a little bit of history and background. Several years ago, EPD contracted with a company called LiveView Technologies for a mobile surveillance camera trailer system. In 2022, the city contracted with the same company to have stationary cameras put in several locations in the city and high traffic areas and high asset areas for the city. In 2024, we switched directions. We removed all the stationary cameras except for the one at High Tank where most of our valuable stuff is, as well as our fueling station. And then added three more trailers to our inventory. EPD is primarily responsible for the placement and setup of these trailers, as we have the personnel that can manage them, get them set up with the company, and are usually the point of contact for the complaints that come in or the areas of concern where folks would like the cameras. Persons that have access to the camera system as myself, our digital evidence technician, Manny Ramirez, and in 2025 we added the investigations commander, Wayne Rabang, and then our CSED Sergeant Brian Ross, as a lot of the cameras are placed in areas that have to do with parks and other issues that he is responsible for. Cameras are not monitored continuously by EPD. Two of the cameras do have capabilities to set up like a boundary. We can set up an invisible boundary around an area, and so like a safe area. So if someone crosses that boundary, we get an alert from the camera sent to LVT, and at that time they can try to contact the individual from the camera, tell them they're in a restricted area, and or they'll call us for a response if they don't get the verbal compliance that they're looking for. If there's a request for video, it's sent to our evidence tech, Mr. Ramirez, and then he contacts the company with the time frame, and they download the video from the camera at that time or from their site at that time for us, and then it's contained and booked per our evidentiary process. The trailers are used to address problematic areas around the city. They'd be used on city property as well as in areas near businesses or on business owner property to deal with certain problems they're having. Historically, these locations are identified by a complaint that comes to city staff and or through the crime prevention through environmental design evaluation and meeting with actually property owners to see if it's a tool that could help them. Cameras are used in a proactive policing model when the city hosts large public events such as the 4th of July. Benefits and outcomes. The trailers are a deterrent to criminal behavior and quality of life. We see this change almost immediately when we put them in a particular area. It's hard to, and I'm asked this all the time, you know, can you give me a number? How do we say something changed? And it's not, I can't give you numbers, I can't give you stats necessarily, but what I can tell you is it's the change in behavior, the reduction in the complaints, and a lack of criminal activity and suspicious activity that's reported to us after we place a camera somewhere. Probably the most that we've used one is the Dias Park during the construction period and the opening time frame, just to deal with some complaints about some theft from the construction. But we did use it this year as there was a complaint that came in about a juvenile violating a law in the park. We were able to identify the juvenile through the camera, contact their parents, deal with it on a civil matter, and get it resolved. But just one example how it's able to correct that behavior within the system. And then cameras deter crime. 2025, just some of the locations we've had them at. Dias Park, Carson Park, we had an increase after we removed the camera of high school kids going to the park and all kinds of assaults and other activities happening. So we put one back in the park to help deter that. Shark Park, the Hillficker lot near the treatment facility center. Target, and that was in the rear of Target to deal with the opening of the trail system when we had all the graffiti on the bridge right after they put the nice wood up and everything, and then so we put that to help deter that. City parking lot near City Hall. 3rd and M streets due to arson activity. 2nd and A streets with ongoing criminal activity associated with transient activity in that area. We had that shooting last year and other things down there, so we put the camera down there. Dock B to deal with criminal and EMC violations. Harrison G Streets, there was a new business that was opening up and being remodeled up there, and they immediately got graffitied once they painted their walls. So we put the camera up there to assist with that, to get them open. And once that was done, they had no more issues with graffiti. So that is a report on the Lock Cop camera systems for the year. If anybody has any questions.
Councilmember Contreras Deloge.
Hi, Chief. Thank you.
Hi.
Can you remind me how many of the lot cops we have?
We have 4.
We have 4 total. Okay. Are you, so I saw, thank you for the list too of kind of where you guys are at. Are you tracking, okay, what am I trying to ask? Are you tracking them, and is that on the transparency portal as well? That says, you know, hey, this is where they are at and this is how long they run those locations.
No, we don't have, we have not implemented a tracking system like that to track where we put them. I had to pull some teeth to get those answers today, just because the complaints come in, we place the camera, it's there for a particular amount of time, another complaint comes in, we evaluate the 4 cameras and where the most need is or where the least need is at the time, and then we'll move a camera from that location to the new location. So I know they were at those locations, but we're not tracking that as independent information.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. I was just wondering because I figured then it might give us a heat map and let us know, like, you know, how I know that we anecdotally know that it's deterring crime. It seems like it's very beneficial and helpful. And I've seen the one at Dayas that's been there for, you know, quite a while. I think that's helpful. I just was wondering if we were tracking it so we might know, you know, drill down and actually see if there was data to support what we suspect.
If that is something council is interested in, if you would cut me a break on the first 3 months of 2025, I'd be happy to start that from this point forward. It wouldn't be that hard to implement.
Yeah, if it's not going to be something that takes like a lot of extra time and that kind of stuff and doesn't create an undue issue, I think I would be really interested, you know, down the line to kind of be able to see how that's impacting behavior and safety.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Councilmember Moulton.
Yeah, thank you, Chief, for the report. I'll add my anecdotal piece, which is that I live on a street where people really like to come down and do donuts.
Okay.
And it was quite a problem. And then it must have been one of my neighbors who had been calling it in, because next thing you know, there was a lot cop in the area where people like to do that, and boy, did it stop. Right away. I'm actually curious. So I understand the lot cop's kind of like a security camera. It's not, there's nobody watching it necessarily. When there's something happens, you can go back and find that footage. How did you ID the juvenile who was engaged in illegal activities?
I can only speculate that an officer or an employee recognized him. I do not
him.
have a definite answer for you on that.
So like a
we
human
didn't post
being.
a photo. We didn't do anything like that. It was internally. We were able to, probably through the school resource officer and that process, to find out who it was.
Oh, that makes sense. Thank you. So at any point, does any of this surveillance from these go through any kind of recognition software, facial recognition, or anything like that to track or identify individuals?
No, we have none of that technology within the department and don't have the ability to run that type of evidence through a tracking system like that.
Thank you.
Councilmember Castellano.
Thank you. Thank you for the report and all of your work. I'm curious, you know, in terms of the lot cops, the cameras at parks in particular, because I've had citizens reach out to me just kind of like, hey, it's a little uncomfortable when I go to the park, and, you know, and there's a camera there. And so I'm just, you know, and I understand sometimes in kind of certain like acute situations, it, you know, and especially when the construction was being done in Dayas, that there was a lot of equipment down there. But in terms of, you know, kind of long-term strategy, and I know that part of the reason they're portable is that they're not long-term strategies. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what would you kind of speculate to be better long-term strategies for just making our parks more welcoming, more safe, and sort of making the lot cops less needed in those parks?
That's a tricky question, Councilmember, because I do believe personally that there needs to be surveillance cameras, stationary surveillance, permanent stationary surveillance cameras at all our parks. I believe those are areas that our families go to. We have children at, and some of the most vulnerable people that we love and care about are there. And it's also, we see a lot of calls for there, a lot of calls for things that are not related to the park, but close to the park. And I think that, one, the assets, everything we put into the park, it's our job as a city to protect those assets. And if we're going to create an area that is open, inviting, and we want the public and our community to come, then we have to be able to provide the safety for that and the sense of safety for that. And as hard as our park rangers and the officers work to be there all the time, they can't be there all the time. And the way we fill those gaps is through surveillance systems that can provide information that can help us with investigations if there is a crime that's committed, or just one, make people feel better and make others feel that I'm not going to commit a crime here because I know I'm going to get caught on camera.
And I'll add to that these are extremely cost prohibitive. This will be something that we're looking at when budget comes up, and doing something internally. These cost tens of thousands of dollars annually, and finding alternatives to this would benefit us financially.
And thanks for that. I'm sure we'll discuss that in the budget period. Kind of relatedly, I'm curious, are the crimes that are taking place at parks, is it mostly like graffiti, or is there a certain type of?
We have seen an increase in some graffiti and vandalism, breaking of equipment in the parks, things like that, especially Carson Park. But especially Carson Park as well, it's so close to the high school that there are other crimes and other activities that were taking place there that are not conducive to high school students and their safety and welfare. So we had removed the camera. We've seen an increase in calls for service at the park due to fights, other activities. So we put the camera back to help deter that from being a location where people are going to. Because, one, it's not good for the community that's there trying to enjoy the park to have an incident like that take place, which then puts other people in danger. But also, it's not good for the high school students to believe that that's a safe area to go to commit fights, have fights, do things that are outside of school policy and or law. So, yeah, that's kind of how we kind of evaluate that on where they go and the effectiveness that they have inside those parks.
And I can speak on the vandalism side. Once we had College of the Redwoods as well as the Rotary do all of the renovations there, invested close to $1 million into that property. We had spent close to $70,000 in vandalism to that new facility right after that had happened.
And are there certain hours, and this might be a little granular for right now, where that activity is taking place kind of like within a certain number of hours of like the school, is it kind of associated with people like coming, going to school during school hours, or is it late at night?
The increase we've seen at Carson Park specifically was during the lunch hour and then right after school as students are leaving.
Okay. Thanks. It's something I think important for us to think about as a community. Like how do we take care of the commons in a way that engenders, it's like creates more opportunity for use for everyone. And what are the best ways to go about doing that? Thank you.
Councilmember Contreras-Deloach.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't want to belabor things, but I just, you said we're going to be talking about this at some future meeting. I just wanted to follow up with that really quick.
No, we've been looking. We already have a security camera policy. We've
Right.
been looking at placing permanent cameras at these parks that we've been sending these lot cops to, specifically Dias Park and Carson Park, because of the issues that we've had, not only from fights and other crimes, but mainly from the amount of money and staff time we're spending on vandalism and other things that happen at those parks. As a matter of fact, right after Dias Park opened, we had significant damage to the restroom facility there.
Can we, thank you, City Manager. Chief, have we, and this might be for City Manager or Chief, I'm not sure. So have we taken a look at yet, I apologize, not during the time I've been here, but I don't know if previous to me, how much it would cost, what that would look like for us to have camera systems in our parks?
So they're individually, you have to be looked at because of the reception for Wi-Fi and other things that we need in order to do that. And so right now, IT is doing an analysis of Dias Park, and then after that, they're going to be looking at Carson Park. I believe the number is, and I don't know if I think we spend $120,000 a year on the 4 lot cops that we have. The initial cost will evaluate, but I can assure it's a lot less significant than that, and it would be internally stored on our servers here that we'd have the only access to.
You know, besides the fact that it would, you know, prevent, I think, some of the problems of truancy and other things like that right around the high school and some of the issues. I mean, that's always been a problem right there, was when I was in high school. But I think the amount of money that's been invested in our parks too, and it's supposed to be a safe place for children, so, and families, I think just the phenomenal amount of cost to go back and make these types of repairs or clean things up, it just seems like it would make sense for us to really take a close look at that as a deterrent. So I just wanted to ask if we already had, you know, pre-me. So thank you.
Any further questions? No. Is there a part 3?
There is.
Awesome. Carry on.
All right. Mayor and Council, I'm pleased and honored tonight to present to you our annual report for 2025. A couple caveats. This is going to be an abbreviated version. You're going to get copies of the full color, all the quotes, all the great sayings by the commanders and myself, all the, you know, all that good stuff, and a hard copy or a link to that later. I'm not going to be able to read it all tonight. We'd be here all night. So this is going to hit the highlights of 2025 for us, and then we're definitely going to make it available for everybody to get the full report. So our mission statement, and we work hard every day to make sure that we're doing the best we can to partner with our community, prevent and reduce crime, and you'll see that in this annual report, increase our public trust, and then improve the quality of life and protect the future of Eureka through our dedicated service. Before I get into the change in the org chart this year, I do want to say that none of this information within the annual report this year would be possible without the great men and women that work for the Eureka Police Department. Their hard work from patrol to records to investigations to dispatch, property across the board. And I'm honored and humbled to be their chief and lead them into 2026. Whoops. So last year we made a change to the org chart. Commander LaFrance took over patrol operations. Commander Rebang took over investigative services, special teams. And then we, as a part of a budgetary move, eliminated the assistant chief's position from our budget and added our admin sergeant, John Omi, which has been a phenomenal help to both the commanders and I and the department as a whole. This just covers our coverage area that we're responsible for the city of Eureka. EPD breaks the city down into 3 beats, and then the 4th being the Old Town special beat for the Old Town officer. So in 2025, we had a total of 77,460 incidents we responded to, 29,446 officer-initiated activities. We took 5,100 case numbers, did almost 9,000 traffic stops. I guarantee we'll break that number next year. We took 188 traffic collision reports. Our arrests for 2025 over 2024 were up 3.5%. And I apologize, I can't see that far tonight. My eyes are tired, but I think it's 1,727 misdemeanor arrests and about 800 felony arrests, and then the other smaller numbers of the arrests for juveniles with the same categories.
That's correct.
Thank you for the confirmation. NIBRS reporting. NIBRS is the national system that the FBI runs that we're responsible to reporting all our crimes to. This really is, and while there's a bunch of good stats in here you're going to see for reductions, this really is, I think, the bread and butter of how we can tell we did last year. So we've seen a decrease of almost 20% in crimes against persons. We've seen almost 27% in crimes against property, and then a 15, almost 16% increase in crimes against society. That is one increase I can live with, because crimes against society are things like public intoxication, drunk driving, weapons violations, gambling, prostitution, drug violations. That means the cops are being more proactive. They were making more arrests, and we were the driving force behind that number increasing over 2024. And we've talked about this at some of the other shorter quarterly reports that we've done along with the COP board, but we adjusted our patrol strategy to be more proactive and focused on traffic enforcement, which then correlates to more interactions and more crime prevention because of those contacts, and those numbers are seen throughout this report. So you can see we had an 86% increase in officer-initiated activity over 2024, which is just great credit to the patrol and the patrol commander for initiating that. Proactive policing went up to 38% versus 23% in 2024. We set out in 2024 or 25 for goals with patrol, so reduce calls for service, reduce crime, focus on criminal behavior, and reduce collisions. Here you'll see the first goal, our calls for service dropped 8%, our 911 calls into dispatch dropped 15%, non-emergency calls dropped 9%, and our total calls into dispatch dropped 11%. Our second goal was to reduce crime. So we've seen a 4% decrease across the board when it comes to the number of cases we've taken, the number of felony cases we took, as well as the number of misdemeanor cases. Focus on the criminal behavior was our number 3 goal. So you'll see our arrests are up 4%, our felony arrests are up 9%, and misdemeanor arrests are up 1%. These may not sound like huge numbers, but they definitely correlate to the work that was done, and I'm proud of them. For every 1% we can go up in anything. Our fourth goal is to reduce collisions. Traffic stops were increased by 245% over 2024. Our DUI arrests were up 26% over 2024. Our total collisions are down 1%, 1 collision reported. Again, I'll take it, right? We'll do what we can. But it just goes to show you there's no direct correlation with enforcement being the only option to reduce collisions within our city. We cannot be the only solution to that problem. Our criminal collisions went up 18%, and while that's an increase, I think a lot of this is driven by economic factors such as people not having insurance, so we have more hit and run accidents, more DUI. Even though we apprehended more DUI drivers, there's still more DUI accidents out there, so that causes that number to increase. All right, our animal controls officer and our CSOs responded to 9,200 cases or incidents last year. They took 819 case numbers. We took 1,400 animal calls for service, and then 273 animals to the animal shelter. Just some unique facts about the animals we took up there: 44 cats, 4 chickens, 2 rabbits, 3 goats, and 1 parakeet. So it's not all dogs that go to the animal shelter. Our canine team had 4 canine partners last year. Bodie on the far left retired as of January. They assisted patrol with 158 different calls for service and did 1 physical apprehension, which is actual bite during a call for service. Abatement, we had 1,321 inquiries coming into our department reporting abandoned or some type of problem vehicle. We tagged 909 of those, towed 283. You still can see we're still getting a very high compliant number. So the tagging, the outreach by the abatement officer, trying to do everything we can not to tow cars works. But there are those out there that we do have to tow, including that enormous boat on that trailer. We towed 17 motorhomes, 2 motorcycles, 8 trailers, 4 boat and trailers, and then a 31-foot man lift that took 2 tow trucks, a forklift, and a whole bunch of smart people to try to get it on there safely to get it out of here. So it's not just vehicles they deal with a lot of problem issues as well. Our criminal investigation unit worked or assisted on 141 different cases, with burglary and crimes against children being their most common case that they investigated. We took 156 missing person reports in 2025. We closed 98.1% of those, which is great work. Some of the sentences, notable sentences and investigations. 1 individual got 8 years for armed robbery. Another got 5 for assault with a deadly weapon. And then the 2 Widmark brothers got life sentences for the officer-involved shooting of trying to shoot at the Humboldt County Sheriff's deputies during the pursuit and the additional crimes they committed within the city prior to that pursuit. pursuit and officer-involved shooting. A couple other stats that came out of our criminal investigations unit that are not on the slide, but I think are important. We took 266 shoplifting calls last year. And if you remember, Prop 36 was initiated last year, ballot initiated through the votes. 78 cases we responded to, we sent to the DA's office. Out of those 78 cases, 58 had repeat offenders. 3 of these individuals were responsible for more than one case, and actually one individual was held to answer on 2 years in prison for repeated thefts. I have talked to many business owners, both at some of our highest theft areas, such as the mall, Target, and then our local business owners, E&F, Schaefer's today, as a matter of fact. They all have seen and reported a significant decrease in shoplifting activities, and I think that's directly related to Prop 36 and the ability to hold people accountable for repeated thefts, not the first theft, but the repeated thefts by these individuals. Our community safety engagement team, they tagged 118 camps last year. They cleaned up 97. They removed almost 151,000 pounds of trash. They made 264 referrals to other housing and assistance programs that we have in the city through Uplift, CARE. These are individuals they're running into at these camps and other places, and they're trying the best they can to focus them onto some other resource to try to get them the assistance that they need. And then CSET wrote only 43 mental health holds last year. So this is CSET, CARE, and Uplift. This group here is absolutely amazing and doing great work for the city and for the department. Together, these programs create a coordinated system that improves responses to community needs, reduces repeat crises, and connects people with services that can help them move towards stability. Mental health calls for service, you'll see in 2025 there are approximately 1,720. This looks like a significant increase and is over 2024. However, we had an Old Town officer this year. We had some areas that really needed some attention that the Old Town officer worked with CARE on. So a lot of these we created the calls for service and related to the mental health issues, trying to do the outreach to get to those individuals that needed the most help. The big numbers, though, are CSET and the calls that they responded to. We're able to divert almost 94% of those individuals to resources and other sources of help versus a 5150 hold and then into the ER. And patrol is almost 92%, which if you think about the work that patrol does and the stats that I've shown you to be able to handle the calls for service they do many times after hours and still be able to get individuals in crisis that need help to other resources without clogging up the ER with 5150 holds, that's a really significant number, and really proud of the work that they're doing. This is our school resource officer that started this year. He handled 542 calls for service for the school. There's a lot more information about him in the real report, I promise. We just didn't put his picture on there. Our property division took in 4,700 items of evidence this year. 1,590 digital, 3,000 of that was physical evidence. The rest was safekeeping, things like that. We booked over 100 firearms this year. And as hard as we tried to do purging, we still probably have more than 100,000 pieces of evidence in our facility that we are logging, keeping, and some of it we have to keep forever. Our dispatch center handled 24,000 911 calls. They handled a total of almost 75,000 ingoing and outgoing calls for service. All 911 calls, or at least 98.8% of them, were handled or at least answered under 10 seconds. So a lot of times that number is higher just because we have 2 dispatchers in there, and if you have one wreck on Broadway, you might get 10 911 calls coming into the system at one time. Somebody's got to be on hold, or somebody's going to ring more than once or twice. But 98% is a great number when it comes to that ability to answer that call and start getting the help to the people that need it. Our records section this year was severely understaffed. That was pretty much the staffing, a manager and 2 employees. They have a total of 4 employees up front as they're supposed to have, but they still handled almost 4,800 people coming to the front counter for assistance. 5,000 reports were approved. You see the records release is almost 8,500 and all the other things that they do at the front counter to serve our community. And this is while being open 4 days a week because we just didn't have the staffing to keep Fridays open all the time. I am happy to report that as of Monday, they are fully staffed again. They're in the process of training the 2 new employees. And once that training occurs, we will be opening back up to 5 days a week for the community to come to the department and report things or get the assistance that they need. Complaint review. During 2025, the department received or took care of 19 complaints that came in. 10 of those were internal, 9 external. The 9 external is a 50% decrease from 2024. We had over 181,000 documented interactions by the employees of Eureka Police Department. These are the stats I've already showed you, whether it's the officer-initiated activity, the phone calls in the dispatch, the front counter contacts. Those are the ones I can show you that were documented. You can figure there's tens of thousands of other contacts, interactions that we have with community members at community events, being hailed just for a conversation that don't get reported. And to have only 9 external complaints come in goes to the work that is being done, the level of professionalism and service to our community by EPD employees. We have roughly 20 volunteers who volunteered more than 815 hours this year, and a lot of the events and things they did will be listed in the final report. Grants. In 2025, we received 3 grants for a total of $203,000. ABC, which we generally get every year, the Office of Traffic Safety Grant, and then a cannabis tax grant. That is from the California Highway Patrol, which assists us with identifying and arresting those individuals that are utilizing cannabis while they're driving, so driving under the influence of cannabis. In fact, the DUI checkpoint that's taking place right now is funded by the cannabis tax tonight, and that's what they're out there looking for, as well as anybody driving under the influence of anything. In 2025, I applied for Measure Z funds for some emergency first responder equipment to assist patrol with the need to deal with critical incidents. We were awarded a little over $32,000, which allowed us to buy 2 ballistic blankets. Ballistic blankets are roughly 8 by 8 Kevlar vest kind of blankets that we can put over top of a car to increase the safety inside that car for like negotiating or getting closer to an incident, as well as 2 ballistic shields and 2 entry kits to assist with breaching of all kinds of things. In 2025, our employees completed 352 courses. We had 61 different officers and staff trained for a total of a little over 10,662 hours. Just an interesting note, our 75% of our training budget is spent on travel out of the area. And that's just an unfortunate circumstance. While we live in a beautiful area, training just doesn't happen up here a lot, and we have to travel. It's roughly $2,000 for a 1-week course to go north of San Francisco, and it's roughly $4,000 for a 1-week course to go south when you have to figure in hotel cost and airplane tickets. But what you see here is a training class happening within our own Wharfinger building. We are working hard and have already had 4 or 5 classes this year brought to our area. And that way we can train a whole lot cheaper, and it's much cheaper to pay an instructor to come up here than it is to pay 4 or 5 of our employees to go down there. So this is something our training manager is working hard on this year, is soliciting more classes for the things that we need to come up here so we can train more of our employees for a less cost. Recruitment was good this year. A lot of effort goes into recruitment always. Like I said, records is fully staffed. Our property section is fully staffed. Our dispatch center, we have 1 opening right now, but we have multiple applicants that we're going through the process to fill that 1 opening that we have. And this is the first time since 2008 maybe that we've been this close to being fully staffed. We were fully staffed for a short period. Unfortunately, somebody didn't make the program, but we'll be back there shortly. And then from a patrol standpoint, sworn standpoint, I think we're currently 8 down. We have 6 in backgrounds right now for the July Academy. And we're trying to interview a couple more people to fill those spots before the academy starts in July. Just some quick recognitions. Those are the 12 employees of the month that are recognized by command staff, sergeants, for their contribution each month to the department. And then our Commander LaFrance won the CIT Law Enforcement Executive of the Year. So we're honored to recognize him in our annual report for the great work that he has done and the recognition that he received for that great work. A couple other things just real quick to report out on. Our community engagement and events. We took part in events such as Ice Cream with a Cop, first day of school, welcoming students to the first day, Read to a Class, high school homecoming parades, Hoops and Heroes, career fairs. Our outreach programs had to do with Coffee with a Cop, being involved in the Rhododendron Parade, 4th of July. We started the Blue Envelope program this year for members of our community that suffer from some type of disability that would benefit, as well as put on community de-escalation classes for more than 100 participants. We also did community service with Battle of the Badges, having 232 donors for that event this year. We raised $1,300 for breast cancer awareness, $3,500 from No Shave November for our Shop with a Cop program. We got 1,500 pounds of donation for Cram the Cruiser for our Christmas time holiday drive for that. We did a Christmas blood drive, as well as took 52 children this year as a part of our Shop with a Cop program. Yeah, all great things, all things we love to do for our community. A lot of great photos in here of those events and other things to share with the community. Our acknowledgments to our council, the city staff, city department heads, as well as our first responder allied agencies for all the help this year. And on this great photo of FTO Mark Sheldon and Dias Park, I would open it up to any questions you have.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Chief? Councilmember Moulton, then Castellano.
Yeah. A couple things stuck out to me there. I had one question and one brag. So when it says 118 camps were tagged and 96 of them were cleaned, those other 20, what happened there?
Compliance. We worked with those folks that were in those camps to get them relocated and services that they needed.
Do some of those people end up in housing?
I'm sure they have. We work with Uplift Care and those organizations. If somebody's willing and wants help at that time, they're going to do everything they can to find somebody a place to go.
Sure. Of what resources are available.
Yes.
Yeah. And then remind me the name of the brothers that got into the shootout.
The last name is Widmark.
Whitmark. Thank you. The Whitmark brothers. I just wanted to share a brag with the council, which is you may know that we have a citizen oversight board for the EPD, and one of the members of that board coincidentally happened to be on the jury for that trial, and afterwards at the cop board meeting, he said that the records that were kept by EPD, the thorough recording of everything that happened at the scene was exemplary. And as a juror, that was one of the main reasons that they were able to make such a thorough decision, and how the trial went as smoothly as it did is because of the excellent and thorough work of the EPD. So I heard that, I was proud of that, and I wanted to share that with the council here.
Councilmember Castellano.
Thank you. Thank you for your service and for the report. I was curious, there's some, right, the income, kind of per capita income for Eureka is slowly rising over the years. Is there any correlation between that and reduced theft? Or are you tracking any of those kinds of metrics in terms of just like how the population base is changing, and if that's kind of changing the types of crimes and those kinds of?
No, I can't say that we do, or I don't even know if I wouldn't even have a matrix or some way to, a metric, I should say, to try to correlate the two together, because I don't monitor the first one, how the income averages are rising.
Yeah, it's when you see, and I know, and for sure I hear a lot about just how people really value the responsiveness of EPD, but I'm like, okay, what are the other things, systemic things that are changing at the same time that might also do those? And then let's see, and I appreciate, I was going to ask about bringing trainers here, so I'm really excited that you're already on top of that. That's really great thinking, and thank you also for the work diverting people into mental health services. I was curious, Councilmember Moulton brought it up, but just with the COP board, how has that kind of benefited EPD and your work from your perspective?
Yeah, I think the COP board, along with the IPA, definitely has been an asset to the PD and to our work and ability to be transparent with our community and ensure that the investigations we're doing are complete and thorough, and be able to report that out as much as we can. I think the COP board works hard to be that liaison between the community concerns, questions that they have that they can take back to the community, but also giving us the opportunity to answer to those and ask questions, appropriate questions, for us to better inform and educate our community. So I think the COP board is a benefit to the city, a benefit to our community, and happy to play the role that I do play in giving a report each quarter to them.
Great, and thank you for your leadership with that as well. I'm curious to think more about the shoplifting calls, and I don't have, I may follow up with some questions about that. Thank you.
Any further questions? Councilmember Bauer?
Yeah, I think this is the first time in my time on council to see a report that is so positive, and due to your leadership and Commander LaFrance and Rabang, appreciate the proactive policing, it's just all good news. So thank you. I did have a question about the felonies that we're, interacting with. As far as statistics go, statewide, where do we kind of fit, like per capita, having these felony interactions? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay. I'm just curious if we're higher than average or lower.
I wish I knew where to get these per capita stats or how to do that, because I get asked this question a lot about all kinds of things, and I just don't have the ability to. I may be able to get the numbers, but I don't know how to do the per capita rate, and I've not seen that reported anywhere.
ChatGPT.
It's changed a lot with the what is the new reporting system? NIBRS. I mean, that changed. I mean, the data that we're getting now is pretty much the data that we can only use because you were comparing data that was different prior to NIBRS being adopted. So what, the last 2 years maybe?
Yeah.
That's changed. So I think those will take a while to generate if everybody's under that same reporting system.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, thank you again for the great work.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add that the numbers that you see for mental health will likely continue to increase. I have good news that we have finalized at the staff level the agreement with the county to provide their alternative response. It's supposed to be going to their board on April 4th. CARE started their 7-day coverage in late February, and are doing that currently, and with the hopes that eventually going to 24 hours. And so that response isn't just EPD, it's also with mental health professionals that aid in those responses. And I have to assume that it was Commander LaFrance that put the Olympic bouquet around his head for the Employee of the Year.
No, that was a PIO. He did not do that himself. So,
Councilmember Contreras-Deloche?
Thank you. Thank you. My understanding is that when with the implementation of NIBRS, that reporting became a lot more accurate and it kind of more detailed about the full complexity of everything that might have occurred. So I guess I'm wondering how that might be influencing. I think it's wonderful that we have this drop, but I was expecting it to actually increase a little bit because I thought NIBRS was going to give us a more like a broader picture of all the different ways that things are going amok. And I guess my question is actually about that reporting system and how that influences the data that we all receive now.
I think where you've seen the increase is in that 23-24 cycle. And this came to council because I believe somebody came in and said, Eureka's crime rate is 300% higher than anywhere else. And my insurance now is going up because they're using these stats. So in 2023 with UCR, you can only report a hierarchy type status. So if you had a murder, you reported the murder. You didn't report the other 10 crimes that you're charging or that occurred. Now under NIBRS, we're charging we can report up to 58 different crimes, and I think up to 10 under any one particular incident. So that first year, you're reporting apples to oranges because it is going to be an increase because we are showing all these different crimes. 24 to 25, or yeah, the last 2 years, we've been able to show apples to apples. And that's where we're not seeing this huge number, and we're actually seeing the appropriate numbers for increase and decrease for crimes, because we're correlating two similar data points. And even though we're reporting more individual pieces of a crime, you're still reporting one crime. It's one homicide with all these underlying issues. It's not 10 separate crimes under this one reported incident. So that's why you're not seeing a huge increase in the numbers, because we're still reporting the one crime. You're just able to encapsulate all the other circumstances that went around with it for reporting.
Thank you, Chief. I feel like that was an excellent and thorough explanation for anybody who is, hopefully dialed in and paying attention to it, hopefully online at least. And then just lastly, I just wanted to make a comment about the blue envelope adoption. Of course, everybody knows my little guy who's in attendance is on the spectrum, and I really appreciated that rollout event. And I hope that, we'll continue to expand community education around it. When I went there, they said, well, this isn't just for people who might get pulled over. This is something, that families can carry too, so that you can let, people know, let your officers know if you got pulled over that there's somebody in the vehicle that, is on the spectrum, or, other disabilities that might make them react different. I deeply appreciate it, because it's just going to increase safety. And I appreciate the fact that Eureka is once again one of the places where this was being rolled out first. There's so many places that haven't adopted it yet, and it's just another way that I feel like frequently you guys are always leading out on stuff, and I really appreciate it, and especially in this particular area, deeply appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anything further? Thank you, Chief.
All right,
Great
thank you all.
report. Appreciate you. Okay. With that, we will move to public comment. Pardon me. This is the time for members of the public who wish to be heard on matters that do not appear on the agenda. City Council policy is to limit each speaker to 3 minutes. Such time allotment or portion thereof shall not be transferred to other speakers. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the City Council may not take action on an item that does not appear on the agenda. Is there anyone here that would like to comment on non-agenda items? Oh, he's going the other way. Okay. You're fine. You just took the long way around. That's all right. Come on up. Welcome. Let me raise that for you a little bit.
I appreciate it.
A little bit more. Very tall. Okay.
Hello, I am Ryan Littleton. I'm a member of the Anti-War Committee of Humboldt, and I'm here to express my support for you guys supporting a resolution condemning the attacks on Iran. The U.S. has launched a unrevoked attack, I believe, on February 26, which has led to the life's loss of many Iranians, as well as a waste of taxpayers' money here at home, which could be spent on better stuff like infrastructure, education, and etc. Tragically, I was going to pass out a resolution, but I printed out something else, which is my bad. But I will soon as possible, when get home, email you our resolution, and I hope next meeting you will adopt it for the next agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Is there anyone else in chambers that would like to comment on non-agenda items? Come on up. Welcome.
My name's Jeremiah Fisk.
Oh, speak into the mic, friend.
I'm Jeremiah Fisk. I'm a lifetime resident of this area. I just got something to play here.
Lead strategist, Jeremiah Fisk payment date, March 17th, 2026 to Eureka City Council and City Manager subject. Official notice. Roads and Infrastructure Anchor, Section 8850. To the council, my family has been the literal shield of this city for over a century. My uncle, Randy Payment, worked the North Jetty gates for 40 years, saving lives, pulling people out of the waves and protecting them from the incoming tides. My uncle, Michael Fisk, served as a nurse, saving lives on the front lines of healthcare. I am here to stand on their legacy of service and demand that the neglect of our community's foundation ends today. I am putting you on notice regarding a systemic management of decline and the following legal violations. 1. The 1894 Power Wars cover-up. We know this technology isn't new. By 1894, Eureka already had the blueprints for waste-to-energy. You've spent over 130 years ignoring the bedrock anchors and the thermal potential of this land while letting the town sink into a sawdust sponge. 2. Hillfeiger Reservoir neglect. The Hillfeiger Reservoir was mandated to be filled and operational in 1992. It remains a massive infrastructure failure in direct violation of CA Water Code Section 6025. You are sitting on a dry resource while the city thirsts for stability. 3. Environmental violations. I have documented city-contracted sewage trucks moving through our neighborhoods uncovered aerosolizing waste in violation of Vehicle Code Section 23112.7. Furthermore, you are dumping resource into the bay that is legally required to be discharged 3 miles offshore. The HSHO sink solution. We will save this sinking town. We will drive dolphin pilings into the bedrock, using tectonic thermal reactors to dry the ground and generate 24/7 power via gyro turbines. To get this off the ground, the Hands-On Head Start Foundation requires the following. My official appointment as crew leader for the Waterfront Stabilization Project, a dedicated service truck, and a stable studio/living space for the lead. The activation of our vocational housing program to provide food, showers, and a ground to stand on for our local workforce. I have served you the Notice of Proprietary Interest, Section 8850. You have 30 days to partner with the Payment/Fisk legacy or answer for a century of neglect. Jeremiah Fisk Payment Founder, Hands-On Head Start Foundation. Master. Hands-On Head Start Foundation.
We got a big problem.
Morning. I, the heritage, the first light.
That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in chambers that would like to comment on non-agenda items? Seeing none, we will move to Zoom. Is there anyone on Zoom?
Nick?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi there. Happy St. Patrick's Day. My name is Nick Saris. I live down here on 2006 I Street in Ward 3. I was one of the 20 or so people who attended the last Transportation Safety Commission meeting. Unfortunately, it was canceled because it didn't meet quorum. Traffic safety is definitely becoming a hot issue in town, and I think a lot of people are starting to get a bit worked up about it. The TSC has been doing great work, but I'm afraid the issue is getting away from us despite their efforts. Some of our roads, areas like the 4th and 5th Street corridor over here, have incident rates way higher than the county average. At the current target pace, I believe the TSC is trying to reduce incidents by 20% over 10 years, if I remember correctly. Some of these roads could take centuries to become reasonably safe. I'm not here to ask for some transformative overnight change, but instead for us to start treating this like a high priority issue. One step we could take today is to consider adding more TSC meeting dates. I'm not sure if this is something anyone's considered, but the TSC only meets once a month, and that gives them really no more than 12 opportunities each year to work on safety, respond to issues, or address the shifting legal landscape. If we increase this even just to 2 meetings per month, 24 meetings per year, I think that would be a great place to start. That would give the TSC greater ability and opportunity to act on the issues in the community and take better advantage of new laws from the state like AB 1014, which could be used to make our roads safer right now. I'm asking you to please consider adding an item to the agenda to discuss this topic on the next meeting. My name is Nick Saris. Thank you very much for your time. And thank you to our report presenters as well. Great reports today.
Thank you. Do you see anyone else?
I see no one else.
So with that, we will close this public comment and we will take a short break before we come back. All right, we're going to go ahead and reconvene this Eureka City Council meeting, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. And we are going to begin with council reports. And we will start with Councilmember Contreras DeLoach.
Hello. Okay, thank you, Mayor. Let me open my little note here for council reports. I didn't get to do a whole lot. I got to visit with my son who flew in, and that was really nice. So I took a whole 3-4 days off of everything to spend with him. Anyway, this was a very firefightery sort of period of time for me. I got to visit HBF Station 3. Also, while my adult son was out here, he went and actually did a ride along with HBF, and decided toward the end of that he thought that was the real hero stuff, and was like, I think when I finish my master's, I may just come back and go through the fire academy. So that was kind of wild. I know. Some of the community work that I get to do is meeting with and working with some of the local youth. I got to meet with a guidance counselor and a high schooler here who also wants to be a firefighter and has got planning to go out and do that. And so got to meet and talk with him, and he is got his application all filled out to do a ride along as well. And then I met with a couple of church groups this week that are actually reached out because they needed help because and this is not a city issue, it's a county issue, but they ran amok with their status because apparently they're allowing too many people to meet in their building, so the county is telling them they're going to lose their nonprofit status. They're not charging, they're just allowing them to meet. So I know. Anyway, I've had a conversation about this with City Manager Slattery when something like this came up about 1.5 years ago. We're very friendly on the city end of it, just so you guys know. We don't have policies that cause issues for churches, but the county does little. So anyway, and then and this is an unfortunate one because it's literally for rehabilitation services for drug and alcohol, and it's also a free pantry. So it's just a little frustrating. Then I was at the Harbor 2x2, mostly discussions around dredging and future economic opportunities. And then on just a side note, I got to meet with a couple of kind of captains out there, some of our fish folk. And I actually finally found my husband helped us locate my grandmother's old boat. I've told you guys my grandmother was one of the first female fisherwomen here. And I knew her wood boat was somewhere, we didn't know where, and we located it. We found it, and it's actually out at our marina, which I didn't know because it had been in Brookings. So that was wild. It's been sitting here across the water. There's my report.
Nice, thank you. Councilmember Bauer.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I do have some travel to report. I attended the Redwood Empire Division meeting on last week, and for those that you that don't know, as part of the League of California Cities, Redwood Empire represents cities from essentially Point Arena to the Oregon border and inland to Clear Lake. And we had a great discussion. We had Assemblyman Rogers was there. Senator McGuire attended via call. Really, challenging discussions like about healthcare, the impacts that we'll soon feel due to, was it HR 1, the federal cuts to funding. So we have some significant challenges that we're going to have to, that are going to affect our city and all cities in our region and across the state, actually. So we had a good discussion on that. We talked a lot about legislation. We talked about Proposition 4. Yeah, I think it's Proposition 4. Lots of money and I've talked to City Manager Slattery about potential, looking at those as opportunities to do. I mean, Prop 4 covers everything under the sun. So there's a lot of money there that we should explore to try and get our city some grant funding to do things we need to do. So it was a really good meeting, good attendance from all our sister cities. And yeah, and I missed the JPA meeting. I apologize. I was out in the field and got back way too late from work. So thank you, Councilmember Fernandez, for attending. And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Moulton.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have any travel to report. I did get a chance to check out Arts Alive, which was lively despite being in the cold and drizzly months. I recommend folks go out and do that. A nice way to do that is to park maybe near like Morris Graves and then walk across at the light at 4th and 5th Street and then walk down, because sometimes when then there's less people kind of stay concentrated sort of in the lower end of Old Town, but there's stuff going on all over the place. Lots of great things to see. I attended the Humboldt Bay Fire meeting, which was mostly a mid-year budget review and adjustments. It's a healthy organization. And I attended a risk management seminar, got to learn all the different reasons that cities get sued. And then I just wanted to take this opportunity to say a thank you and goodbye to North Coast Big Brothers Big Sisters. I know this news hit a little while ago, but the lack of Bowl for Kids' Sake really drove it home to me. Kids with mentors have much better outcomes in education and just in life in general. So if you have an opportunity to find a way to volunteer mentor a youth, CASA is a great organization, court-appointed special advocates. It's very different from Big Brothers Big Sisters, but again, it's providing that like trusted adult relationship consistently in the life of somebody who might not have a lot of consistency in their life, or find something that jives with your worldview and give time or money if you are able, because it's keeping those connections and keeping involved that keeps our community healthy. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Castellano.
Okay, let's see. So another sheet of paper. Okay, there it is. Since the last council meeting, I attended a Eureka Main Street meeting in which the subject matter was the Cultural Arts District. There's going to be a lot of activity in the coming months related to the Cultural Arts District, including the painting of a number of new murals between the end of April through the end of June. So look forward to those. They're also working on a new cultural, kind of global cultures folk festival at the end of September. I attended the Humboldt Transit Authority meeting, the Humboldt Waste Management Authority meeting. I continue to engage with leadership in the nonprofit space with Northern California Association of Nonprofits. And I want to congratulate Cassandra Hesseltine and the Humboldt Del Norte Film Commission on a really exciting Sunday Oscar celebration in which one battle after another won the award for Best Picture. And just thanks to, it's a big thing for us, and thank you for her leadership and supporting so many films in this area. And just in general excellence. And just to let you know, I'll be traveling next week for the House Cities meeting to chair the Housing Community Economic Development meeting.
Let's see. And I have a few things that I've done. I did go to Wings for a Cure, which is for breast cancer research and those kinds of things. It's always a beautiful event. I did 2 Pack Out Green Team cleanups. I'll tell you again, I know I push this all the time, but if you've never been, I encourage you to go. It's so fun to be out with community. It's outside. You are picking up trash, but you're done in an hour and you can go spend your whole Saturday doing great things and feeling great about yourself for being a part of community and your buy-in there. I did the Foggy Bottoms Milk Run. I did the 10 mile, had a great time. The weather was lovely. And I actually saw Kelly Allen out there. She ran the 2. It was great with her kids. And so she was here a minute ago. So that was fun to see a lot of people out there, and her being one of them. Meetings are continuing to happen with our town hall planning for May 9th. Neurodiversity, the thing that brings us together. We have Rick Griffin coming from Arizona. It'll be May 9th from, 10 to 1 at the Warfinger. So put that on your calendar. It's going to be a different kind of town hall this particular time. And there'll be a lot of events coming up for May as Mental Health Month as well to go with that. That's kind of one of the kickoffs. I attended the NAMI board meeting, which I'm now a part of. I did go to the gala for the one gala after another at Eureka Theater. I got to go with some people. They invited me to sit at their table, and it was really amazing to watch the crew. There were 2 high school students that were there that were in the movie as well. And just to see them, they were just glowing, you know, so was Cassandra, but they were just glowing with joy and like pride in what they'd done. And the movie received 6 Oscars. 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Oscars. Pretty incredible. And it's really wonderful to see Cassandra having such success after she's been working with our community for so long. So I really appreciate that. This morning I did an interview with the JPR radio from Portland, I believe they're from. They're interviewing mayors up and down the coast, and so that was really nice. I had several meetings about our red light district ladies monument, and that is moving forward. It's so exciting. If you're interested, I posted an interview that Lynette Mullen had with JPR as well about like some of the things that these ladies did to warrant this kind of honor, which was it was a lot. There really were unsung heroes. So I had a lot of meetings about that. And lastly, on a more serious note, which this is a pretty serious note, I would encourage people to go to my page or to go on social media and look. There's a 14-year-old boy, Damian Lewis, is missing, and he's somebody that I have worked with in the past. A lot of people love him. A lot of people care about him, and he's been gone since February 20th. So if you happen to see him out and about, please, please, please call EPD's non-emergency line at 707-441-4044. Again, his name is Damien, and there's a picture of him. He's 14. So it's pretty heartbreaking on a lot of levels. And then lastly, because I don't want to leave you feeling sad, I do want to remind everybody that the Perilous Plunge is this coming Saturday. There's going to be a lot of people jumping in the bay in crazy costumes to support our local kids. Councilmember Bauer will be out there with myself and the president of Positivity. We'll be, doing that crazy stuff and being probably pulled out by the firefighters. So, this is community, right? This is how we roll it out. And I would encourage anybody to get involved with all these great things that are happening in our community, because that's how we thrive, getting to know each other and doing things like this. So that is all I have, which was quite a lot. With that, we will move on to legislative action correspondence.
Mayor, could we do the consent calendar?
Oh, yes, we can. Thank you. See, I had so much to say. I lost track of where I was. Yeah, so the consent calendar. Notice to the public, all matters listed under this category are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. Pursuant to City Council Resolution 2011-22, if a member of the public would like an item on the consent calendar pulled and discussed separately, the request shall be made to a council member prior to the meeting. Unless a specific request is made by a council member, the consent calendar will not be read. There will be no separate discussion of these items. And no one's mentioned anything being pulled. So could we get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Great. If there's no further comments, please vote.
4 yes votes, Councilmember Fernandez absent, motion carries.
Thank you. Legislative action correspondence. Councilmember Bauer.
Yeah, we received a notice from Cal Cities regarding AB 1708, which is the Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention Grant Program. And basically, this is the state's flagship homelessness grant program. And currently, there is no requirement that small and medium-sized cities be considered for funding. Even as, and I'm just reading kind of some basic lingo, even as many invest our general fund resources towards homelessness. So this just gives us, I think, a better opportunity to access those funds. I don't know if Councilmember Castellano, you have any, You familiar with this bill? Or what do you think about it?
I think we should, yeah, generally support it. Yeah.
Okay, so general consensus of that? All thumbs up.
That was 708. I apologize.
1708.
1708.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Contreras-Deloche, did you have one?
Yep. I don't know if council remembers last year I had requested and you guys consented to a letter of support for AB 1378. That was the one that would strengthen. So tribes are already providing much of the social services for their children, but they're not getting any of the funding for that. And also this is to try to address and strengthen ICWA, which is the Indian Child Welfare Act, and to try to, I think I'd mentioned at the time, tribal children are 4 times more likely to enter foster care in California, and there's a number of reasons for that. And so it was aimed at prevention. It had bipartisan support. It passed all the way through, and it was vetoed by the governor. Chris Rogers, Assemblyman Chris Rogers, has come back with this again, and and I'm requesting that we write a letter of support again for now AB 1574, which is the Tribal Foster Care Prevention Program. There's a few adjustments to it, but this one again is working with the California Tribal Families Coalition and the Pechanga Band of Indians, as well as the Yurok tribe, who are all sponsoring this. So it's the same groups that sat down and did it last time. It is, the best way I could describe it, very similar to the situation we've had where through CARE and CSET, we've provided services for which we were not receiving any kind of reimbursement. And so there's that aspect of it, but it's also to help backfund things so that the tribes have the ability to prevent youth from entering into foster care in the first place. I don't know how much you guys know about that kind of stuff, but I call them poverty placements. Frequently children enter into foster care for reasons that they should not be placed in care. It could be addressed by better support for the family. Anyway, that's one I would like us to consider writing a letter of support again for, as AB 5074. Thank you.
So that was full consensus. Any other legislative action? Seeing none, we'll move to ordinances and resolutions. 2026 Inland Zoning Code update with Director Kenyon. Hello.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight is the vote on adoption of the 2026 Inland Zoning Code update. Again, to recap, this is updating our inland zoning code, so it applies to everywhere except our coastal zone. It's Eureka Municipal Code Chapter 155. It's a targeted update to design review and design standards, but it's also a general cleanup amendment. There's 31 existing sections in Chapter 155, and we're modifying 20 of them, adding 2 new sections, and one of them is replacing Chapter 159 of the Municipal Code, so we're repealing that. Planning Commission voted to recommend City Council approval in February. At Council's first meeting in March, a public hearing was held. We went over the amendment in detail, and Council voted to adopt a CEQA exemption determination and introduce the ordinance with direction to make minor revisions to our existing tiny house on wheels regulations, which are shown in attachment 2 of the agenda packet. And so here is a recommended motion of adoption. And I'll stop sharing.
Do we have any questions for Director Kenyon? Seeing none, we'll open this item up for public comment. Would anybody in chambers like to comment on this item? Seeing no one, we'll bring it over to Zoom. Do you have anybody on Zoom, Shannon?
Phone number ending in 126.
Thank you. My apologies that I hopped on late. I was actually here to back the anti-war.
Oh, I'm sorry. Public comment. I'm sorry. Public comment
I
on.
know. I'm going to get to it.
Okay, great.
But
Thanks.
Having that would you just remind me what this particular thing was? Because I just wrote you an email. But I do have comment because it was about, I heard CASA and foster kids and Native children. Is that right?
No, that was a letter for consensus, and that already was brought to consensus.
Oh, okay.
So we're actually talking currently about inland zoning code update.
Okay, I will pass. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Okay. Seeing no one?
I see no one else.
Okay. We'll bring it back to council for a motion and a second, and then discussion.
I move to waive full reading and read by title only and adopt Bill number 1057-CS, an ordinance of the City of Eureka adopting the 2026 Inland Zoning Code update by amending various sections of Eureka Municipal Code Title 15, Chapter 155, adding sections 155.314, large site development, and 155.348, wireless telecommunication facilities, to EMC Title 15, Chapter 155, and repealing EMC Title 15, Chapter 159, wireless telecommunication facilities.
A second.
Great. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing no one, please vote.
4 yes votes. Councilmember Fernandez absent. Motion carries.
Great. This moves us to reports and action items. The 2040 General Plan Annual Progress Report for the year 2025 with Director Kenyon.
Hello again. Thank you to Deputy Director Castellano for preparing this PowerPoint and script for me. The state requires the city to submit an annual progress report on the implementation of its general plan to the City Council and the state by April 1st of each year. This annual progress report is included in your agenda packet, and it highlights the city's key accomplishments during calendar year 2025, organizing them under their the general plan goals that they further. This is the third year that we've done the annual progress report in this table format. And it's becoming more comprehensive every year. We want to use it as an opportunity to really reflect on and celebrate everything that the city accomplished in the previous calendar year. And we've been talking to the Economic Development Division about a vision in the future of maybe making it more visually engaging and digestible. So you might ask, what is a general plan? A general plan can be described as the city's blueprint for how the city will grow and develop. It is required by the state and has a long-term planning horizon of 20 to 25 years. As you can see by this land use planning hierarchy pyramid, the general plan is at the top. It is the most long-term general planning document. All the plans, maps, and permits lower down on the pyramid must be consistent with the general plan. The general plan is the guiding document for all the city's land use development and resource decisions. All general plans in California must include 7 mandatory elements: land use, housing, open space, conservation, safety, circulation, and noise. But they can include optional elements that speak to local interests. Our 2040 general plan includes both required and optional elements, which are organized into 5 sections that provide the goals and policies to guide the city's decision-making. Section 3.1 is related to land use, housing, economy, and historic and cultural preservation. I'm going to be talking about the housing element in my second report. The second section is our environment, relating to natural resources and open space, agricultural and timberlands, and air quality and climate change. Our civic resources, related to arts and culture, parks and recreation, and community services. Our infrastructure, relating to mobility and utilities. And our well-being, health and safety, and noise. Each section of the annual report lists the relevant general plan goals, followed by a summary of city projects, programs, and actions completed or advanced in 2025 that support those goals. Many entries support multiple general plan topics. However, for clarity, each entry is listed only once in the report. In total, this general plan annual progress report includes 101 accomplishment entries. and some entries reflect multiple actions or milestones. Wow. So the recommendation is to receive the report. And then we will submit by April 1st to the Department of Housing and Community Development and the Governor's Office on Land Use and Climate Innovation.
Great. Are there any questions? Councilmember Castellano?
Great. I just want to recognize first some of these questions may not be very specific to your department, and things you can be reporting on through the general plan. But I'm just going to put them out there, and I can always bring them up in other spaces. And some of them may come up with budgeting and things too. Just the neighborhood mini grants, are they still available?
Yes.
Great. I'm curious, the home-based businesses, 99 of the new business licenses are home-based businesses. I know that's partially because there's more capacity to develop home-based businesses now, but any other kind of insights around that?
No, but we could easily see what they were for and report back to you on that.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know a little more about it. The senior home repair, it's at $300. That seems, knowing what it costs to repair things, that seems sort of a low cap. Do you know if people are maxing out on that, or?
I'd have to speak with project manager Raymond to get an exact number on that, but I do know that once the Housing Trust Fund is up and running, that's one of the programs that could be supplemented with the Housing Trust Fund.
Great. Will it cross into Old Town, or is the Caltrans corridor sort of keeping it from crossing into Old Town?
No, they should be able to do that. They're starting to expand more now.
Okay, cool.
I don't know the timing of it, but the intent is to get everywhere.
Great. Then I have some maybe thought. This is a report. Should I just say little thoughts too, or?
You can't. We will be having some public comment. But
Okay.
certainly.
Oh wait.
Okay.
They're just little ones, and okay. Thanks.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, we'll open this item up for public comment. Is there anyone in chambers who'd like to comment on this item? Seeing no one, we will bring it back to Shannon. Is there anyone on Zoom? No one on Zoom, so we will bring it back to council. This is just receiving a report. So, Councilmember Castellano, you have some comments?
Sure. One, thank you to Director Castellano for this report. I think they would make really great tools for social media regular announcements. It's just such a great kind of annotated way to see kind of a lot of the successes of 2025. I do think the Facade SEPTED program is really great. I do think maybe we should consider capping the total amount per business, because I noticed it was $31,000 for 5 businesses. It just seems like then that kind of limits the number of people who can.
We did amend.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, so it has been amended. That was a report from last year. So it has been amended. The amount of funding available is less, and it's one per parcel, right? Assistant City Manager Powell. I believe it's $2,500 per parcel.
Okay, I think
Currently,
that's.
no.
I'm remembering. I was like, I thought we capped.
It was
great.
capped though.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
And then I just want to prepare council when we talk about budget. I'm really keen on holiday lights for Operation Light Up Eureka. I'd like to see us really doing more in the upcoming year. And then just to say, I feel like the art and culture section could be fleshed out a little bit more if we wanted. We support numerous cultural events and celebrations, both with like staff time and like providing spaces, venues, opportunities. And, I know it's maybe not a specific program, but I know that the city is often doing that. And I think it could be listed in that section if we wanted.
Yeah, I think some of that is relative to Main Street. While we staff Main Street But you're right. There are other events that aren't necessarily Main Street that are
Just like the work we do to support Juneteenth, for instance.
Yeah.
We could talk about, we could pull like the number of special event permits we do a year, and because we do provide support for all of those.
Totally. Because I think of course there's some things happening through the Cultural Arts District and things, and that's listed, but I think that the city on its own is also just doing a lot to support cultural visibility and diversity.
Thank you. Any further comments? Councilmember Bauer?
Yeah, I thought the report's great. I mean, it's only 35 pages too. It's pretty amazing. Usually, like 150. Condensed and readable. But I look at the building permits on page 7, and I'm like, I wish I saw more ADUs on there, and so it gives people a sense of what we're doing, that we have a lot more to do. But it's great to see there's a bunch of housing, being built right now, and to the tune of, 45 million, in work. So I hope people read it and see all the hard work that your department does, that the city does. And these are, even for how the brevity of it, it's pretty dense. There's a lot of information in there. And I just ask people to give it a read and see that we're doing our best, to increase the housing supply, which we all care about. So thank you for the great report.
Thank you. Councilmember Contreras-Deloach?
Yeah, just a comment. It was, just getting to read through it, like what Councilmember Bauer said, it was just very heartening to get to see it all like this. And it was nice and succinct, so I actually had the time to read the entire thing. And it was it's nice to see all the progress on all these different things that staff is doing. And I like he said, like Councilmember Bauer said, I hope people read it. Thank you. Thanks. And thanks to staff for all the work getting this stuff done and getting all these things, going.
Councilmember Moulton?
I'm also grateful. I love, when people see situations and people see problems and they say, the city's not doing anything. I'm like, oh, you couldn't be further from correct. Speaking of correct, someone misspelled Earth Center. Sorry, that's what I.
Did they miss the R?
It says ERT.
Yeah.
ERHT.
Regional Transit. Oh, yeah. That would be the wrong one to miss.
It's EARTH.
So it's a transposition, it sounds like.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you so much for that report. And with that, we will move on to Housing Element Annual Report, Progress Report for the year 2025 with Director Kenyon.
Me again. Okay, in addition to being required to do an annual report for our general plan, we also have to do an annual report specific to our housing element. And this one, we have a lot less discretion in what we do. They give us the Excel workbook, and we have to fill it in the way they would like. So I'm going to try to take that information and give you a presentation that is understandable. Okay, State law requires the city to maintain a housing element that plans for local housing needs and to prepare an annual progress report for presentation to the City Council and submission to HCD, the department of the state that we submitted to, by April 1st of each year. Housing elements are required to be updated regularly on an 8-year cycle, and our current housing element is for the years 2019 through 2027. Each housing element cycle, the state determines the amount of new housing the region needs to plan for, and then Humboldt County Association of Governments distributes that regional need across the 7 cities in an unincorporated county. Eureka received a regional housing needs allocation, or RHNA, of 952 units divided into 5 income categories as shown on this slide. And this means we plan for 952 net new housing units built in Eureka by June 30th, 2027. Each year, The annual progress report tracks housing at multiple stages, applications submitted, building permits approved, building permits issued. So after we approve it, then they have to pay for it, and then we issue it. And then after they construct and they get their final inspection, the last thing we report on is when we give the certificate of occupancy, or what we call finaling the building permit, and people actually move in. So the state actually tracks RHNA based on when building permits are issued. While that seems counterintuitive since units are not yet built at that stage, the state's rationale is that local jurisdictions are responsible for approving housing, not ensuring its construction. Because the report tracks multiple stages, the same project can appear across different reporting years or not appear in a given year at all. For example, this project that converted a former church parking lot into a fourplex, it didn't show up this year because the building permit was approved and issued in 2024. So that's the year it got counted towards our RHNA. And then during 2025, even though it was under construction, we only issued a temporary certificate of occupancy. The actual finaling occurred in like February of this year. So it's confusing when it shows up and when it gets counted. Okay, so this map shows the projects that counted towards RHNA progress in 2025. So those with building permits issued in 2025. In total, 23 separate projects accounted for 143 housing units. And this chart breaks those units down into single family homes, duplexes through fourplexes, larger multifamily buildings with 5 or more units, and accessory dwelling units. And what counts in what category is not always intuitive. This chart shows cumulative progress towards RHNA over the full housing element cycle, with 2025 representing our highest annual reporting year so far. To meet our total obligation of 952 units over 8 years, we would need to average 119 units per year, and to date, we have averaged 58 homes per year annually. If we dig into the chart, a significant share of our progress comes from a small number of larger deed-restricted affordable housing projects, including the 20-unit Kameka Place motel conversion, the Yurok and the Arcata House Partnership project, 48-unit Providence supportive housing project on 101. That also is a hotel conversion. The Laurel Canyon Senior Housing Danco project on city property at 7th and Myrtle. And this year, Link Housing, 90 units on 3 sites. So, yeah. The next slides here are going to highlight key projects and project types that contributed to RHNA progress in 2025. Link, it was 2020 that the city awarded these sites. And what took so long was getting all the financing to make it happen. And what's exciting is that we also got money for public infrastructure improvements that we will also see going in as the project gets built in the next 2 years. Building permits were issued and we closed on the lease in March of 2025, and then they started construction in June, and they are on schedule to finish before 2027. Another awesome project that we reported on this year is the Wiyot Tribe's Dargigi Youth Housing Project. They got Home Key grant for this. They're taking 3 existing buildings and creating housing to serve 39 youth, ages 16 to 24, experiencing or at risk of homelessness. There's 31 permanent units and 8 units for rapid rehousing. And so this office building conversion, it will have 1 12-bed dormitory, 1 8-bed dormitory, 5 independent studios, and 1 manager's unit. And RHNA, we only can report on certain things and not others. So dorms don't count towards RHNA. So even though this is a awesome, huge thing that we're getting all these units, we just reported on 6 of them, the studios and the manager's unit. Another project that qualified for RENA in 2025 was the ACGC 3rd and G project. That's going to get us 13 market rate units above 2 commercial spaces. This started with a minor subdivision in 2023 that needed a variance, and it required just a whole ton of discretionary permits to build. And I'm really excited that it's almost done too. Okay, another type of project that's huge for us every year are accessory dwelling units. And we've averaged about 20 something the last 4 years. And I just want to advertise that they're allowed in any zoning district in conjunction with a primary dwelling or multiple primary dwellings. Most properties in Eureka can accommodate at least one ADU, probably a lot more. And there's now amnesty for unpermitted ADUs constructed prior to January 1st, 2020. So please get your ADU permitted and get us a RENAM number. Okay. And then another type of housing that pays off in Eureka over time is these small lot subdivisions. One awesome thing is that College of the Redwoods has been purchasing properties, doing these small lot subdivisions, and then building housing on them. Their students are out there building housing. I wanted to take a picture, but there was like 12 students. So I took a picture of one of them that's already been built at the site, but it's, they subdivided one lot into 4. So they're 2,700 square foot lots, and they're building a single family home on each of them. And then this one at 7th and P Streets, they subdivided this lot to create 3 new lots and put 2 units on each of those. And then this is another one that's the most dense out of all the ones we've talked about on Harris. It was a subdivision of 1 lot into 4, and they're putting 4 units on each one. That's more than our code allows, but they are deed restricting their units to be affordable. And therefore, they received a density bonus to allow for additional units and deviations from city design and development standards. So these units are 427 square foot units. All right, this chart shows progress towards RENA by income category using HCD's standard reporting format with minor adjustments to reflect projects that were not captured in the city's 2021 and 2022 annual reports. Those reports will be revised and resubmitted to HCD to ensure the record accurately reflects production to date. This chart shows the city has achieved 43% of its RENA to date, with 57% remaining. This appears low at this point in the cycle. However, we have a substantial number of units in the pipeline, largely driven by Housing Element Implementation Measure H34, our program where the city has committed to the sale or lease of city-owned property for affordable housing development. So these next slides highlight those pipeline projects, focusing on key milestones achieved in 2025. This project, the Wiyot Tribe's Elder Housing Development at 6th and L, will deliver 52 senior units and a commercial kitchen. It reached several key milestones in 2025, including securing full financing through 9% tax credits, receiving design review approval, submitting building permits, and transferring property ownership, with construction starting in January 2026 and completion anticipated in 2028. This project, the Wiyot Tribe's Family Housing Development at 5th and D, will deliver 41 family units and a commercial daycare. It reached full financing through a 9% tax credit award in September 2025, followed by design review approval in January 2026, with plans to start construction this year. This project, the Danco and Humboldt Transit Authority Earth Center development on the south side of 3rd Street between G and H, will deliver 46 housing units above a ground floor transit center and 5 leasable commercial spaces. And it achieved design review approval in January 2025, full financing through 4% tax credits in December 2025, and submitted building permit application in February of this year, with plans to start construction later this year. And then lastly, Rural communities. Sunset Heights development will deliver 88 units in two 44-unit phases, with phase 1 securing a $21.7 million Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities grant and loan, which included $8 million towards public infrastructure improvements. And that award reflected significant staff effort in 2025 on outreach and planning on those public improvements. The city is now working to transfer property ownership for the first phase, and the developer is planning to apply for tax credits in April, which, if awarded, would fully finance the project. So taken together, the projects just discussed, along with the Link Housing project, total 309 deed-restricted affordable units, accounting for approximately 82% of the city's low and very low-income RHNA. The city anticipates issuing building permits for the 4 projects I just highlighted in 2026, meaning they would count towards RHNA progress when I report in 2027 on 2026. So final slide shows that if those permits are issued as anticipated, the city is going to not only meet but exceed our very low and low income RHNA targets for the current planning period. And that's it. Oh, and we have a website with a lot of different pamphlets that have information about building housing and how you can maximize your housing potential. And then we also have a website with more information on affordable housing on city-owned property.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Director Kenyon? Councilmember Castellano?
Sure. Just a couple quick questions. The ADUs, they're generally probably moderate to low income units, just kind of affordable by design.
So that is a good question. When we did our housing element analysis back in 2019, we determined that units under 500 square feet in size tended to be affordable by design at that time. And we'll do another analysis with this upcoming housing element. But I don't have good data on what they're renting for. And so, funny enough, I tried to count them as moderate or low income because some of them are tiny. They're like 250 square feet. And the state says, no, if you don't have rental data, you have to count it as above moderate. So our above moderate numbers are quite silly because I have lots of examples of things that I've had to count as above moderate that I'm sure are not renting at above moderate. Well, not sure because I don't have the actual rental price, but that are tiny. But I do have other good data from the building permits on our ADUs that we've developed over the past 3 years. And one of the planners compiled a bunch of graphs on it. So I do want to report that to you at some time soon, just to give you an idea of like average size and ones that are converted from existing space versus detached and project valuation averages and stuff like that.
And I should have asked Riley this a couple of weeks ago, but when do we expect to actually have the ADU financing program ready for folks to actually participate in?
So right now the RFP is out for the design professionals, getting submittals back and doing review for that. I believe the time schedule was end of May-ish. And during that time, we'll be working on a checklist for contractors. So we're hoping by summer that will be operational. I think part of it's going to have to do with the financing related to the Housing Trust Fund and whether we not get the match from the state.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll open this item up for public comment. Anyone in the public that would like to comment on this item in chambers? Seeing none, is there anyone on Zoom?
I see no one on Zoom.
Great. So this was just receiving a report. Are there any further comments? Councilmember Moulton?
I just want to thank you for the report, or the several reports, and comment on how wonderful it is to see things being built. You know, watching this process go from years before I was first elected to now actually seeing cranes and stuff, and these bigger projects being built is just really encouraging. Thanks for all your efforts in helping to make that happen.
Thank you so much. Okay. This will move us to our artificial intelligence policy with Finance Director Millar. Good evening.
Good evening. Tonight's presentation is about the proposed artificial intelligence policy. This presentation will cover the purpose of the policy, definitions within the policy, and then the policy itself. So starting with purpose. So if I broke down the purpose of this policy, I think there's two main themes. The first one is data protection. When using AI tools, we need to be conscious of what we're inputting into these tools. And then the second theme, I would say, is proper usage. So a lot of times these AI tools will produce something for us, and it's important that employees review the content that is generated by these different technologies. So defining AI can at times be fairly tricky. It covers a large, growing part of the tech world. AI is generally understood to be a computer system that can mimic human behavior through the performance of tasks that we have historically attributed to what humans do. One subset of artificial intelligence is called machine learning. Machine learning is where the computer system is learning from the data and then using that data to make recommendations. We have encountered machine learning quite a bit. We see it in our everyday lives. If you ever go onto Netflix and you start to choose types of movies or TV shows, you'll start to notice that they start recommending like items. If you ever use Google Maps, you want to find directions from point A to point B, and you're in a large city, it might start to tell you the impact on time traveled between A and B based on traffic counts. If you're using LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, it might review your followers and then recommend people that you are not following. Or if you're on Spotify and you like certain artists, Spotify might use that data to then recommend other like artists. And then the thing that we've seen for a long time are ads on websites. So you might notice that you go and purchase an item, let's say from Nordstrom's, and then as you're navigating the World Wide Web, you start to notice that every ad is for the product you just bought. So you're being tracked, and they're using that data through machine learning to then use it for advertisements. The next subset of AI is referred to as limited memory AI. Another term is generative AI. So this is really the heart of this policy. This includes tools like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini by Google or DeepSeek. So limited memory or generative AI is a more advanced version of machine learning. This is taking lots of different data sets and it's being trained to look for patterns and then using that tool to then provide you with content. Most of this policy is in regard to these types of tools. And then finally, we have agentic AI. So this is kind of where all the focus is today. Going back a few months, ChatGPT was still the hot item. But today we're seeing that agentic AI is the next stage of this development. This is far more advanced than your ChatGPTs. ChatGPT can produce an email for you. Agentic AI like OpenClaw, you can give it your login to your email and it will automatically respond to your emails throughout the day or whatever time frame you tell it to. It could essentially mimic or attempt to mimic the behavior of someone that spends a lot of time on the computer. I don't see this technology being embedded into our daily lives at the city. But it will likely be used by other software programs that the city acquires. So going back to the policy, we're really looking at just this one subsection of generative AI. So now we come to the policy. So before I talk about what's really in the policy, why would employees use AI? It's great for creating or editing emails or any other text style documents. It can draft the email from scratch. It can change the tone of the email. You can make it more formal, less formal, but it does a very good job of recommending what you say at times. You can use it to develop Excel formulas or to provide you with calculations. You can use it for research. One example would be if you had to develop an AI policy, you can request that it provides you with 10 examples from cities in California and then link to those actual policies. So it's a good research tool. It can summarize text documents. So if the state wants to introduce new regulations and you want to quickly review what's in that bill, it can take that text and it can boil it down to something very concise. Coding development. Not many employees do software coding, but with the help of AI, this will become more of a reality. It can also help with things like website development or understanding website metrics. Google Gemini is a great tutor for exploring new technologies that might have been outside someone's skill set. And then data sorting and data cleaning are good uses of AI. So when using AI or when city employees use AI, they do need to limit the use of what they're using AI for. Typically, we operate in what I call a protected environment. So Tyler Tech or OpenGov or Laserfish, these are software products that we currently use to do payroll or to issue permits or to manage our databases. These software products protect our data. These companies ensure that our data cannot be exposed. So typically employees, when they're doing their day-to-day work, they're within a protected system. When they start to go outside this environment and use things like ChatGPT, you do not have those privacy guarantees. And in some cases, these tools will take what you're inputting and they will train their models on that data. And there's been some evidence that other users using the right prompts will be able to extract data that other users have inputted. So one of the policy requirements is that employees do not use or input sensitive data into these tools. This may include social security numbers, personnel info, proprietary data, tax data. The other limited use has to do with what is generated and then how we use that content. So for example, today I simply prompted Gemini to write a short poem about the city of Eureka. It took literally seconds and popped this out. It's very good at producing a lot of content very quickly. So when employees are telling it to produce something for their work, they need to make sure that the content produced by these AI tools has not hallucinated. So in some cases, when it returns a response, there's no guarantee that that is factual information or correct by any means. And in some cases, these tools are forced to respond. So sometimes the information that they're trained on or what they retrieved isn't actually accurate. So you do need to fact check it. And I would honestly not recommend using it to do your research. Or if you're going to use it to do research, you need to dig deeper than the response it provides. You need to find the raw data. You also have to be conscious of whether their response was something that was private property. So there is a chance that that poem that it drafted for me was something that someone else wrote. So you don't want to take somebody else's work and call it your own. And then bias and discrimination. So these models are trained on huge data sets, and most of them are trained on data sets that we're not aware of, or we're not really sure where the information came from. So without knowing the basis of the information that these models are trained on, there is a risk that if the information that trained these models was biased, and there's a good chance it was, that those biases will come through in the responses that they give us. The last section of the policy is transparency. So whenever employees use these AI tools, they must indicate when AI has significantly contributed to their work. And by significant, what we mean is original content. So that poem that Gemini wrote for me, I didn't add any language to that poem. It was simply from Gemini. So that would be a good example of when I would note that that wasn't my work, but the work of this AI tool. Structures or framework. So I could prompt ChatGPT to develop a strategic plan. It would provide not only the content of each section, but it would determine what sections are even in the plan or the table of contents. So that to me, or that as part of this policy, is something that we would call significant. And then finally, when it comes to research and analysis, it can do a good job. But if you're tasked with determining the effects of a new regulation and you rely on ChatGPT to tell you the impact of a new bill and you don't do any of the research yourself, it's important that you let the reader know or let your boss know that that work was not done by yourself, but done through a AI tool. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Director Millar? Councilmember Moulton?
I don't have any questions. Actually, I have several suggestions.
That would be comments. So
Okay.
we do that after public comment?
I was just, checking the structure because of where we are.
Yeah, thank you. So, not seeing any questions, we'll open this item up to public comment. Anyone in chambers that would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, anyone on Zoom?
Phone number ending in 126.
Hi there. I'm just hearing the words AI, and knowing all the ways, the myriad paths for violence that AI is currently being used by not just the Epstein-Maxwell class of pedophiles and child sex traffickers that are tied to the Israeli regime carrying out multiple genocides that have now branched into Lebanon after Palestine and ongoing in Palestine, but also through Israeli-trained ICE, which is funded by both parties. This is not a Trump-tied criticism. This is overall an industry, a field that is absolutely captured by a class of psychopaths with a dystopian future intended for all of us. And to say that we should be able to separate those being used for bad versus those being used for good is just not possible under a scenario where we are under tech totalitarianism at this very moment as we speak. Claude was the AI utilized when the United States, along with and/or at the behest of the Israeli regime, targeted an Iranian school that killed 168 children ages 7 through 12, along with 14 teachers, in multiple strikes with missiles made in Boulder, Colorado in 2014. That has been confirmed. So what we know is predictive policing, Palantir technologies, other things that use these kind of things, they're all tainted. They are all tied in for a particular future of doom based on control, based on occupation tactics that have been practiced and tested not just on the native people here on this stolen native land from long ago and ongoing, and the black people that have survived, enslavement, etc., but now updated for the modern era with these technologies tested on Palestinians, where in the Israeli colony, these manufacturers, these corporations, they know that that's a relaxed, regulated area, and so they practice it there. I hope I'm making sense. There's just an overwhelming amount of information that's coming at us every day that have been revealed not just by the Epstein files, but by their very, very public talks. Alex Karp of Palantir, whoever made, these other Google, all of these corporations. When you listen to them talk, it is frightening. It should terrify us, and we should very much listen to the people who don't want data centers in their communities, don't want AI to be the thing we invest in amidst food collapse, water shortages, and global climate change. Not to be an alarmist, but we have to be realists. What solutions really come from AI that we actually need to support human life? Okay, it is not this water wasting. There's just so much that we need to learn. We should not be allowing our cities to let their claws in. I can't say enough about pausing on any new implementation of AI. I apologize if I didn't even clearly understand what this proposal was for. I just want to say, when I hear AI and I learn all of the dangers that AI is currently unfolding for us, we must say no until the public is very much behind the levers of control in government. And we don't have that right now, do we? Even at the smaller scale that we're in, we can't allow flock systems, and we can't allow.
Thank you. Thanks for hanging in with us. I appreciate you coming back. And is there anyone else?
I see no one else on Zoom.
Okay, seeing no one else, we'll bring it back to council. This is an action item, so if we could get a motion and a second to discuss. Councilmember Castellano?
Sure. Sometimes I just want to say it's a little awkward making a motion when we know we have some slight suggestions we want to make. So I just want to put that out there that
I can appreciate that. And I also, we can talk offline about that anytime you'd like.
Yeah.
But I also think it's really important to have intent about what we are discussing before we have a long conversation and then it just goes flat. So you can always vote how you'd like to vote, but I appreciate having a motion in a second.
Okay. I move to adopt policy number 1.14, artificial intelligence policy, with the improvements recommended by council.
Second.
Great. Okay. So conversation. Councilmember Moulton?
Thank you. And thank you to the staff for bringing this forward. Thank you to the public commenter. I want to start by saying that because of the environmental, cultural, and intellectual degradation caused by the use of AI, I don't think we should be using it at all. I don't think that the city should use it. I don't think that people should use it, at least not in its current form. But that boat has long since sailed. Students who use AI lose the ability to think critically. And it stands to reason that employees who use AI lose the ability to lose practice on those skills that they have earned and that they were hired for. I think our use of AI should be extremely limited, basically to really controlled analysis. Our employees need to read and write their own emails. There is a strong potential for a brain drain. So I have some really specific suggestions I'd like to go over. If I could start there.
Go ahead.
Okay.
It's your comment time.
Thank you. Need to be able to read. All right, starting with B, limited memory AI. Some of these definitions are incorrect, or they're like marketing speak from people who write AI. So says a form, limited memory AI, a form of AI that mimics the human brain's ability to retain information. This is incorrect. It doesn't mimic the structure of human brains or human logic. It's a statistical model that takes a large group of information and statistically says after this word, the next word is usually this word. So I would cut from mimics to past experiences and replace it with predicts statistically likely language. And I have all that. I can hand this over, but I'm if this goes through, so you can see this. And then in A, generative AI, a technology that can create content. AI cannot create anything. It is incapable of creation. What it does is chew up other information, glue it back together, and spit it out. So I would replace the word create with synthesize copied. So it reads a technology that can synthesize copied content, including text, images, etc. In that same paragraph, no, I've emotionally written the word stolen in here. I'm just going to skip that part. In section C, agentic AI, the definition, AI systems that are semi or fully autonomous and thus able to perceive, reason, and act on their own. They do not perceive, they do not reason, and they do not act. They acquire information, compile, and output content as information or as input for other software. I just don't want us to write into a policy what amounts to marketing speak for an AI firm. So cutting out from perceive, reason, and act on their own, and replacing with acquire information, compile, and output content as input for other software. I like the policy. I like the limitations, the user responsibility, department directors. On to purpose. At the end, where it says related to data protections and proper usage, I would add strike and before proper usage and add and ethical usage. So in policies related to data protections, proper usage, and ethical usage, I think that is important as a city and acting in the public good. And then under assigned responsibility, it says never submit personal or confidential information. And I would add to that list, never submit personal or confidential information, pictures, video, or creative content. Never submit copyrighted materials without written consent of the copyright holder. Then under definitions, artificial intelligence is the simulation of human intelligence processes. Again, this is not true. Just strike that phrase, the simulation of human. I'm not sure what to do with this piece. By machines, especially computer systems that are used to perform tasks that I would replace I just feel like simulation of human intelligence processes is incorrect, and I would want to come up with a better way to say that. In the second to last sentence of that paragraph, it says in such a way that could replace human intelligence. I just want to read this full sentence. I just want to read this out loud into the universe. Artificial intelligence is the simulation of human intelligence processes by machines, especially computer systems, that are used to perform tasks that could act and learn in such a way that could replace human intelligence. This is not true. I would say in a way that could mimic informational retrieval. And then in the section A under definitions, machine learning, a subset of AI and computer science, which focuses on the use and data of algorithms to imitate the way humans learn. Again, this is not how machine learning operates. So I would say which focuses on the use of data and algorithms to predict relevant language, and gradually improving on its accuracy and performance based on the data it consumes. I started on page 2. I'm so sorry. I thought I flipped my page over. Then on the do's and don'ts section, don't share personal or restricted information, don't rely blindly, don't violate copyright protections, don't use AI for tasks requiring a professional license or certificate. All great advice. I would add, don't use AI to generate photographic, graphic, video, or artistic content of any kind. And I put artistic in quotes if we need to define that. So things like a promotional flyer or a promotional video. And then also, don't use AI to read or write communications with the public.
So just as a clarification or point of order, Attorney Black, would those be substantive changes if they were approved?
I'll concede it, but this is a policy and not an ordinance.
Oh, so it doesn't, okay.
So if it's agreed upon those changes by council right now,
Yeah.
we can make those changes and adopt like that. We wouldn't have to bring it back. There's not an introduction and an adoption
Okay.
process.
Thank you for that clarification. Do we have any other comments?
But could I add?
Sure.
It's still the case that with a motion and if there's a motion and a second on the floor, it would be open to a substitute motion to adopt a different policy. See whether that gets seconded. And if it does, vote on that first and the original motion second.
Okay.
So should I present this as a friendly amendment or as a substitute policy?
So a friendly amendment is one that's incorporated by the original maker of the motion and followed by the second. So that's a less formal process in which you change the original motion, but you still only have one motion.
But would it be appropriate to take further comments before the substitute?
Well, it's kind of maybe facilitates the process, but a person has a right to make a
sure.
substitute motion if they wish.
Okay.
So
Are you Councilmember Castellano, then Bauer?
Okay. I feel like that was a little too much for me to really keep up with to incorporate into a motion regardless. Also, I just have some differences of opinion around AI. And so it feels like, I don't feel like, I guess I'm curious. Anyway, I have a couple things to say, but I don't know how to really like workshop this to this level of detail in real time. I don't think it's possible to do in this kind of context. Just like what is ethical, I do think AI can be a tool. I use it in my work and, and so I just want to say that like, I think there's value in sort of supporting its use in some ways and then having a policy around it. My biggest feedback was just going to be I felt like the difference between formatting versus structure and framework should be more defined in the policy. And I think there should be a little more guidelines on sort of like what the tools would be for reviewing content. It says like review content for these things, but if there's sort of like metrics or tools, that's where I was kind of like, oh, there might be a little bit more like, how should an employee review something? Should they like research? Anyway, those are sort of my questions. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Councilmember Bauer?
Yeah, I want to thank Councilmember Moulton for bringing up some significant issues, and I agree with Councilmember Castellano that it's a great tool. I mean, I use it like, hey, find me a space for a meeting on my calendar. Like things like simple things, that tasks that I feel like a computer or machine can do for me. But we're at a pretty significant point. If you listen to enough podcasts, you'll hear things like there's a 1 in 4 chance of us being annihilated, humanity, by AI within 5 years. Pretty large statements, but you'll even hear that in people that are dealing with AI. The big developers are like, it's a reasonable risk, because they'll be trillionaires probably and eliminate most of our jobs. So they don't really care about the risk, but it's such a significant issue for us, for humanity, that we need to be more thoughtful in this policy. I read it and went, that was my reaction. It was kind of like, well, yeah, we shouldn't do that and that, but there's way more to it than don't use it for creating bad images or something. That this needs to be a policy that we spend some time on, and we take, your thoughtful, analysis of it and comments, and we bring it back at a later date where this isn't a rush. I think I would like to make a substitute motion that we table this until we can address our concerns and come back at some future date, perhaps a month, with something that we all feel more comfortable with.
I'd second that.
Great. So we have a motion and a second. Councilmember Castellano, did you want to make a comment?
I guess my only question is if we want to adopt something for now, so we have something since it's already being used, and then bring it back. So there's, something at least to begin the process with staff, because there are staff using it. So,
okay. Councilmember Contreras Deloach, we'll come right back to that.
So, yeah, I think I would be in support of us going ahead and pushing it out. I have to say my own feelings on it probably come a little bit closer to Councilmember Moulton's and our public commenter. I have a lot of concerns about AI. I think it is the latest toy, so to speak, but it's not. It's infrastructure for other things, and it, like other types of industries that kind of just hoover up resources and create environmental degradation in its path, that is occurring. And I think and I can tell too, because I have to read so many different things. I can tell when it's landing in front of me, and I can see it in reports, and I can see it in emails. I can spot it pretty fast. And which means that I am still hearing the tone of that well enough for me to spot sometimes in documents that I'm looking at. So it hasn't been changed enough to mute that machine voice. I can still detect it, and I'm not the only one. And so I think this is a really, I think it's a big problem. I think that I would prefer for all of us to take a look at this, and during that time, independently look into these communities who are now dealing with these different centers and what is happening to their water and environment, and just to consider the contribution that that's going to make, and whether or not we really think that that's a worthwhile trade-off. So, I'm going to freely admit, I think the words of Luddite I think that's how you say it, right? Somebody who gets drug kicking and screaming into technology. Totally me. It takes me a long time to adopt things. I'm very hesitant and I'm very cautious. So I will freely admit that. But AI has so many weird red flags that I just feel like if it weren't the fact that there was such a potential for, we could go on, but it would either be a no for me tonight completely, and I don't want us to be doing this at all, and I would rather everybody just scuttle it and do the work themselves as they've been doing, or we spend time on this and come up with a policy that addresses this in a way that looks at the concerns that Councilmember Moulton mentioned.
Okay, Councilmember Moulton?
I just want to point out, I agree with Councilmember Castellano that when there is no policy in place, like right now, there's no policy, period. I mean, we have the common sense of the employees to not, do something that's going to violate public trust or something like that, but we don't have any rules right now. So if we do nothing right now, then we have nothing. I don't want to kick the can down the road and say, well, we'll take this and we'll look at it later. I mean, if we adopt something now, I would want to then immediately start refining and correcting the policy. But I'm okay with either one, either tabling it and, as I have seconded, the substitute motion, or going back to the other one.
So, just from my perspective and hearing what Councilmember Moulton had said about the changes, a lot of them were important. Don't get me wrong, but somewhat semantic. The way that we were defining things. The only thing that I see that has some interpretation would be, do you define artistic and what artistic is? Those type of things. The other stuff I do see is more of semantic and not.
I would say that preventing staff from using AI to generate photographic, video, artistic content, to read and write emails, and to enter into or to submit into any AI system pictures, videos, creative content, copyrighted materials. I would think those are, how it would be used rather than the words that are used to describe it.
Yeah. The previous stuff about thinking like a human and using different words for that is what I'm referring to.
Okay, so are there any further comments before we vote on the substitute motion first? Councilmember Bauer?
No, well, I agree. I think getting a policy in place, I support that. Like, boom, we have something, but with certainty that we revisit this fairly soon, within a month, and add to it. But I agree. I think that the first motion to me is acceptable, provided we do come back to this and get it done.
So we'll vote on the first one.
No, you can't vote on the first one.
No,
You
we're
have to
gonna
vote on the
substitute.
substitute. But can you
I
make a
get that.
substitute motion to the substitute motion, City Attorney Black?
So I'm
Can I
sorry.
make a substitute to the substitute?
I think the substitute needs to be voted on first. If they don't
But
choose to
I'm
go down
saying-
their own, you shut that down, and then you go to the other one. That other one, the initial motion that you had made, could be
Friendly
amended
amendment, yeah.
with a friendly
But-
amendment that says we recommend adopting this policy with the caveat that it'll be back in front of council no longer than X amount of time.
But that's not what she's asking. I think what Councilmember
We can do that
Castellan-
too.
Okay.
I
All
was
right.
just asking if I could do a substitute, a second substitute motion. But also, I'm happy with that strategy. That's fine.
Okay.
So technically, yes, you can have a second substitute motion.
That's what I thought.
Um,
Never done that. I could do it tonight.
There you go.
We got a year left.
But if I remember correctly, you're the author of the first motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dang. I ruled
So
out.
I think that complicates it a little bit.
Next
All
time.
right. So if there's no further comment, we'll vote on the substitute motion first, which is to
Table.
the item. Please vote.
Just to clarify, this is a motion to table the item completely.
Yes.
Okay. Substitute motion to table the item completely. I need 2 more votes.
The thought was if
I'm sorry. If I vote no on this, are we
My
saying that we're
button's not
defaulting back
working.
to the
There it
first
is.
motion? Okay, because I don't want
Okay.
the first motion.
It's
That's why I'm
working,
asking.
sorry.
All right.
there'll be an amendment to that first motion likely.
So the motion to table this item, I have 4 no votes. The motion does not pass.
So then we will move back
Fernandez
to the original motion.
Thank you, Fernandez absent.
Let's move back to the original motion. Councilmember Castellano, I believe, has an amendment she'd like to make.
Someone else can. I made the motion.
I can make that. I'd like to make a friendly amendment to that if we adopt the policy now to work on revisions and corrections and bring back the policy in this month. Too soon?
No longer than a month from now.
No longer than a month from now?
No, that's
So
fine.
is it-
No later than April 30th?
I would say 5 weeks because we have an extra week in March, and that would be the second meeting in April.
No later than the second meeting in April.
That sounds
There we go.
doable.
And as a
Like
point
so.
of order, did you say earlier that the person to make the amendment had to be the first or the second, or the first and the second just have to approve?
Have to approve it
I have
now.
to approve it.
So the term friendly amendment has been used, which is essentially a request at the dais for the mover and the second of the original motion to agree to the amendment.
Great, that's, okay, perfect. So, is there any further comment? Do you agree, second? Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So we have an emotion and a second. Did you want to say something further?
I just want to say
Oh,
I respect
say something?
my fellow council members' concerns. I do know that there are many people already using this, and so I would like, the revised thing to move forward with a policy that, that just pulls from best practices and isn't sort of excluding staff from using this as a tool.
Through the mayor, I think Director Merlar had a comment.
Sure, go ahead.
Given the level of detail and the suggestions for what we want to see, rather than trying to predict the next version, could we have a study session or a small working group to be able to get into that level of detail, specifically with some staff, because even our ability to monitor what staff is doing sometimes, we're limited. So as much as we restrict through this policy, it might look good on paper, but our ability to actually to keep employees from using these tools could be difficult. And then in addition to that, a lot of the software programs we have already do have some pretty sophisticated AI tools. So I think it would be important to really define when a tool is okay versus not okay, because currently multiple programs that we have can go as far as they can read your emails and look at an attachment, and if that attachment is an invoice, you can actually pull out details from that invoice and get it ready for payment processing. So the technology is pretty advanced, and that's why it's hard to put into policy, because it's really like talking about 20 things at once sometimes. So I think there's a way where if we met with a smaller group, we could kind of identify the risk areas and then isolate the areas that we might not want to discourage. And that way we don't create a policy that would bind us or put us in this weird position where employees have access to these technologies through the enterprise softwares that we already have versus going out into the wild and potentially inputting copyrighted materials or images, because I just want to make sure there's a good separation of where it's appropriate and where it's not appropriate.
So in consideration of what Director Millard said, I think that one thing that could happen prior to the second meeting in April is we could put together a 2x2, 2 council members to have a discussion with staff before it's brought back, and have a meeting with 2 council members to have that discussion. We could be a little bit more extreme, and we could hold a special study session prior to that meeting. So those are 2 options that we could do prior to that meeting. And I don't think it needs to be a part of the recommendation, but could be direction given to staff.
Councilmember Castellano?
Sorry, just a clarifying question. Do you, by 2x2, do you mean an ad hoc of 2 people, or like 2 separate meetings with
No. The 2x2 is a bad term. You could get 2 council representatives to have the discussion with staff to work on some of these amendments.
Okay.
Ad hoc committee.
There you go.
I would prefer the ad hoc, and I would volunteer to be on it, but also I'm not going to fight anyone, but
Okay, so should we vote on our motion? Because we're not going to add this as an amendment, and then we can figure out the ad hoc committee. So we've got a motion on the table.
Can I clarify the motion? It's just to adopt the current policy, and it's been seconded with the amendments, but then it'll be brought back to council no later than the second meeting in April. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
So a motion and a second, please vote.
What is going on? There we go. I need one more. 4 yes votes. Councilmember Fernandez absent. Motion carries.
And if I could get a motion to extend the meeting?
It's a little late, huh, Mayor? I move that we extend the meeting to 10:15.
We have a motion and a second, please vote.
4 yes votes. Councilmember Fernandez absent. Motion carries.
We could return to the ad hoc committee. We have 1 volunteer currently. Is there another volunteer?
Hello.
So is there any opposition to these 2 being?
No, I was going to volunteer them.
Okay, so we've got Councilmember Moulton and Councilmember Castellano are the ad hoc team.
That works for us. We'll have Deputy City Clerk Fazio reach out to everybody and schedule a meeting prior.
So is a formal vote need to happen there, or are we good with just what we've?
No, that's
with
just
the
fine.
consensus?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, guys. This will move us to future agenda items. Councilmember Castellano?
I appreciated in the general plan update reading about the completion of the fish slough in this month, and I'd love to just get a little update or report on it, because it's just a cool project.
Completion of which? I'm sorry.
The fish slough.
Oh, Martin Slough?
Martin Slough, yeah.
Enhancement project.
Yes, sorry.
Yes,
that.
okay.
Thank you.
And so what do you guys think? Great. Any other future agenda items? Councilmember Bauer?
Yeah, maybe it's first a question and then a possible agenda item. Advertising in public spaces. I know we do, provide for advertising and, for a fee. Do we have any restrictions on like who can advertise in our parks at concession stands and whatnot?
We have a banner policy, and so that banner policy dictates which locations allow for those banners to be, and there are some. I can provide that policy to you. We are very limited on who we can restrict because of the freedom of speech and the counsel that we got from our previous legal counsel when that was put together, but I can provide you with a copy.
I was just wanting to explore oil companies restricting their advertising, just having some difficulty with what's currently going on in the world, and I don't really appreciate
Totally
what's
understand.
happening.
Like I said, the only advertising that we do are on our parks at Carson Park on H&I and on the fence at the water treatment facility coming in from Cutton there. Those are the only two locations right now where we accept banners. All other facilities that we hold is like if somebody holds a conference, we'll let them put up a sign or something like that. But as far as like advertising and banners, it's limited now to those two locations.
Okay, I thought we had part of Dios or something. One of the oil companies was gonna advertise.
Oh no! What happened was, and that's unfortunately already approved. That was a naming rights, and what happened was the old Renner company had donated to that park, and so the concession stand, which they paid, I believe it was 60 of the amount for that, is now going to be, what's the new Renner called?
Valley Pacific.
Valley Pacific Petroleum, yes.
I'd like to see the policy, yeah.
Concession stand, yeah.
That'd be great.
Now that is a little bit different. It's not necessarily, like, it's more naming rights. But yes, I can give you both of those
I'd like
policies.
to restrict that too, if possible, if we don't violate any First Amendment rights.
Okay,
So,
I'll get you both the policies, and then we can get with city attorney's office.
Thank you.
So we won't be bringing that back. Okay, great. All right, this moves us to city manager reports.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I just want to give a quick update on our ops complex. As you know, this has been a long process, and I'm just going to go over that process and where we're at right now. We began planning for the project above the Bayview Cemetery in late 2022, which included the CEQA studies and associated permitting and a concept plan. Clearance was attained for CEQA in November of 2023. Also in 2023, Council approved the construction manager at risk, which was awarded to Swinnerton. In September of 2024, we awarded that construction manager at risk, and we separated the site work into phase 1 and building construction into phase 2. In February, phase 1 construction was completed. Bid package was completed, and guaranteed maximum price was established. This phase 1 portion of the project that began in summer of 2025 included all the grading, sewer installation, domestic water installation, fire service installation, stormwater utility installation, PG&E service, electrical installation, parking lot and driveway curb and base rock installation, and installation of LID stormwater features, which is low impact stormwater features. That was completed in February of this year of 2026. Phase 2 continued concurrently with that phase 1, which included the finalizing of the design and value engineering it to get it to an appropriate place related to our budget for the project. Then the metal building design was completed. It says winter of 2026. Oh yeah, early one, I guess. This winter, last couple of months, I was thinking the end of 26, but it was completed, and we put that out to bid. It's currently out to bid right now, and the bid opening for that building construction will be scheduled for March 26th of this month, and planned to be awarded at the April 7th council meeting. So with all of that in mind, once that gets installed, that'll include the foundation as well as the installation of the building itself. And then all of the ancillary site work needs to be done for the parking lot and some of our storage and those type of things, as well as the interior of the building, which would include the plumbing and electrical. All things considered, we should have staff moved into that building prior to the end of 2027. So it is moving forward, and we will be coming back with the prices for the building once that bid, that's going to come to you guys in April, and then the final rest of phase 2 will come back to you as well. So good news, that's moving along.
Anyone have any questions for City Manager Slattery? Comments? No? Well, thank you for that report. With that, happy St. Patrick's Day. Don't drive drunk. We're adjourned.